Chapter 356. The general gave the order to leave. With a wave of his sleeve, all that was left was snow. Some people were praising Jiang Junling for his righteousness, some people were circling around the dead leopard, taking pictures and sending them to their moments, some people were blaming Chen Xiaoran for smashing the leopard's head, depriving them of a delicious leopard brain. Li Guochang looked at Jiang Junling's receding figure in the snow and said, "Having a little brother like this really makes it hard to relax." General Xing grinned and said, "He's still my little brother. The title of leopard-slaying hero isn't bad, right?" "Not bad." Li Guochang looked at General Xing and asked, "Why did the arrow miss?" "Because I was nervous," General Xing said. "Even though I don't want to admit it. But I was really nervous at that time." "You should be nervous." Li Guochang laughed and said, "We killed a leopard. The beast hunting garden will have a celebration feast for us tonight. What a waste of a leopard's head." The Beast Hunting Garden's transfer station, a comprehensive service station for beast hunting teams to replenish their food, water, or ammunition. General Xing unloaded his load and walked over, looking at his little brother Jiang Junling, who was sitting by the window and admiring the snowy plains. He smiled and said, "What's wrong? Even the smartest person has a problem that he can't solve?" "Fang Yan," Jiang Junling said. "It's that kid again. What kind of problem did he give you this time?" The use of the word again proved that the two brothers had talked about Fang Yan quite a lot. "He didn't give me a problem." Jiang Junling pushed up his glasses and smiled warmly, saying, "He was demonstrating to me." "Demonstrating to you?" The cigarette in General Xing's mouth almost fell to the ground. "Demonstrating to you? What right does he have to demonstrate to you? What right does he have to demonstrate to you?" "Swallow Doc," Jiang Junling said. "What about Swallow Doc? What does Swallow Doc have?" General Xing's eyes widened, saying, "You mean Swallow Doc? Swallow Doc where the general gets off the horse and the prime minister gets off the carriage?" "That's Swallow Doc," Jiang Junling said. "So what?" "Swallow Doc doesn't belong to him alone." General Xing comforted her. "What kind of storm can a small character like him stir up? Swallow Doc doesn't belong to him alone, and it definitely doesn't belong to us," Jiang Junling said. "I never thought that I would waste so much time and energy on a nobody." General Xing looked at his brother and asked, "What can I help you with?" "Thank you." Jiang Junling smiled and shook his head. "I can solve this problem. It's just a matter of time." "You've never let us down," General Xing said. He patted Jiang Junling's shoulder and said, "Well then, I'll go to the next stop. Listen to you, bring the guards. I hope I can meet a bear." "Have fun," Jiang Junling said with a smile. When his brother's figure was far away, the smile on Jiang Junling's face slowly disappeared. His gaze once again turned to the snowy plain. His eyes were as cold as the snow on the plain. "Fang Yan, are you challenging me to a duel?" The fireplace was burning brightly. The girl was reading a poem from a book of poems. "The furthest distance in the world, not the distance between life and death. But I stand in front of you. You don't know that I love you. The furthest distance in the world, not I stand in front of you. You don't know that I love you." Ding. The phone on the cushion made a crisp sound. It was a notification tone. The girl looked at the message on the phone, then closed the book and stood up. She walked barefoot on the expensive carpet in the room. Even though the wind was howling outside and the snow was falling, she didn't feel cold at all. "This method is a good one," the girl said softly. "But if it's like this, wouldn't it be easier to anger him? He's a prideful person." The girl walked around the room a few times and understood a lot of things. Then she sat in front of the fireplace and read the poem again. "The furthest distance in the world, not I stand in front of you. You don't know that I love you. But I love you to the point of obsession. But I can't say that I love you. I've caught one too, I've caught one too," Jiang Qin shouted happily, jumping on the ice like a child. Fang Yan quickly stopped her, saying, "Don't jump, don't jump. Be careful that you don't step on the ice." Hearing Fang Yan's threat, Jiang Qin didn't dare to jump anymore. But the smile on her face was still bright. She raised the small white fish on the fishing rod and said, "Let's eat this fish for lunch today." "Who can eat this fish?" Yuan Lin said with a smile. "It's not even enough for you. We can make it into fish soup. Everyone can drink one bowl," Jiang Qin said. "Plus, it's still early for lunch, maybe I can catch a lot more?" "I'll definitely catch more than you," Yuan Lin said. "Today, I will definitely win." Jiang Qin didn't want to be outdone. Fang Yan invited Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to be his guests. Of course, it was not an invitation, but the two girls took the initiative to visit Fang Yan's parents, who were their aunt and uncle. They made such a friendly suggestion, how could Fang Yan refuse? He had to bring them back. The two girls were cute and sweet. Fang Yan's mother, Lu Wan, liked them very much. She wanted to keep them as her own daughters. Fang Yan knew that his mother had always wanted another daughter, but she couldn't get her wish. Originally, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin said they would stay at Fang Yan's house for a day. Now it had been 3 days, but Lu Wan still didn't want to let them go. She kept asking Fang Yan to take the two girls out to play. Sometimes, Fang Yan couldn't be lazy even if he wanted to. Lu Wan picked up the feather duster and was about to beat him. She had never been so strict with Fang Yan before. Therefore, Fang Yan used the skills that he used to play, such as catching birds in the bamboo forest, ambushing from all sides, and fishing by drilling ice on them again, making the two girls so happy that they forgot about home and home. It seemed like they were going to stay here in the future. In the past 2 days, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had been holding a fishing competition. Yuan Lin won the first 2 times, so Jiang Qin was not convinced. Today, she was the first one to fish, so she naturally wanted to show off. Snap! Yi Rou shook her wrist, and another herring, which was more than a foot long, was pulled up by her. The herring struggled desperately with its tail fin, making a beautiful and desperate arc. Yi Rou shook her wrist again, and the herring was off the hook and fell on the ice. Fang Yan quickly ran to catch the herring and put it into the small bucket. There was already half a bucket of fish in the small bucket, which was enough for them to eat for several days. Of course, Yi Rou was not allowed to participate in the fishing competition between Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. The reason they gave was that Sister Rou is too awesome. This was also the reason why Yi Rou was always unpopular. You were only a little better than others, but people thought that they had a chance to surpass you and were willing to play with you. You were always much better than others and people wanted to die when they saw you. Who would want to play with you? Because Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin came, Fang Yan used the two girls as an excuse to invite Yi Rou out to entertain them. Because they were girls and he really didn't understand these things, Yi Rou actually believed Fang Yan's nonsense and really accepted Fang Yan's invitation. Therefore, these days, Fang Yan, Yi Rou, Jiang Qin, and Yuan Lin hung out together. Would Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin be willing to entertain them with Yi Rou? Besides, Fang Yan didn't know how to entertain them, but Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan knew. Fang Yingying had come to beg several times, but was kicked away by Fang Yan. Seeing Fang Yingying being kicked away, Fang Haohan looked at Fang Yan sadly for a few times, but dared not say anything excessive. Seeing Fang Yan staying by Yi Rou's side like a shadow, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin felt very uncomfortable. Jiang Qin said, "What's the relationship between Mr. Fang and Sister Rou?" "I don't know," Yuan Lin said in a low voice. "Could they be a couple? They live in the same village, and it's very likely that they are childhood sweethearts." Jiang Qin shook his head and said, "They don't look like it. I've observed them carefully. They hardly talk, and Sister Rou has never smiled at Mr. Fang." "In this case, there is only one possibility," Yuan Lin said. "Mr. Fang is Sister Rou's pursuer, but Sister Rou doesn't like Mr. Fang. Mr. Fang is so poor." The two girls had infinite sympathy for Fang Yan in their hearts. Fang Yan squatted again beside the pony that Yi Rou was sitting on and said, "I have another question to ask. My Tai Chi heart was originally from the surface to the surface, but it changed from the surface to the line after the battle in the One Sword Peak last time. What will it become later? Will it get better or worse? Yi-Ro didn't answer. I met a strange old Taoist. He showed me a trick of rejuvenating a withered wood. What's the principle behind it? Is it just qi dynamic? Are there other things that I can't get in touch with? Yi-Ro still didn't answer, but her hand holding the pole trembled slightly. There's also the problem of the old drunkard. The meridians on his wrists are cut off, so he can only use force but not qi. I've asked many doctors and they said that it's impossible to reconnect his meridians. Does it mean that he can never use qi again? If he can't use qi, can you help him with his cultivation? Yi-Ro's eyebrows twitched, but she still didn't want to say anything. Sigh, it seems that you can't solve this problem either. If you could, you would have already done something based on your friendship with the old drunkard. I still have another problem. Last time, my Tai Chi heart suddenly stopped working and disappeared. Do you think it will happen again in the future? If I'm fighting with a peerless expert at the peak of my power, and it suddenly stops working, wouldn't that be a dead end for me? Do you have any suggestions in this regard? Yi-Ro kicked Fong Yan's butt and his body slid forward. Plop! He fell into the cold ice hole, scaring away the fish that were about to take the bait. Can you change the topic? Yi-Ro looked at Fong Yan, who was struggling and screaming in the ice water, and said coldly. Chapter 357. In the cold winter, the water was like a knife. The knife cut the flesh, the cold air froze the flesh, and attacked the internal organs. If an ordinary person fell into an ice cave in such a cold winter, he would be seriously ill. Of course, 4 people from Swallow Fort, even if he was a kid, it was just a small punishment or torture. 4 people like Fong Yan, who had the heart of Tai Chi to protect himself, not to mention being bathed in ice water, even if he was stabbed by an ice knife, who the hell dared to stab him? Fong Yan rolled around in the icy water. He reached out and grabbed the ice block, trying to get up. Unexpectedly, as soon as he exerted his strength, he heard a crisp cracking sound. The ice block in his hand broke, and fell into the river. Yi-Ro, you bitch, why did you hit me for no reason? Fong Yan cursed angrily in the water. What did I do to you? I just asked you a few questions, didn't I? Even if the questions were difficult and you couldn't answer them, you can't push me into an ice cave. I've taught so many students, and I've never physically punished them when they couldn't answer the questions. With your temperament, you will never be able to become a noble and great teacher. Idiot. Yi-Ro looked up at the sky and said coldly. She didn't like cursing people. She liked to solve everything with her hands, because she found that cursing people couldn't solve any problem. After cursing, she had to solve the problem with her hands. In this case, why didn't she just skip the useless process? However, there was a kind of person that you would feel sorry for if you didn't curse him. For example, Fong Yan. Since the first day he came back and visited the Yi family, he said that he had something to say to you. It has been a few days, and this is what he said to you. Why did my heart of Tai Chi become like this? What will my heart of Tai Chi become? Do you think my heart of Tai Chi will suddenly become a dead heart? Old drunkard, it's really so annoying. After breaking another 2 ice blocks, Fong Yan had to shout to Yi-Ro, Yi-Ro, help me, throw your whip over. Yi-Ro didn't want to be gentle again. Who walks in front of their own house with a whip on their person? Of course, Yi-Ro didn't leave him in the lurch. She threw the hook at Fong Yan. Fong Yan grabbed the fishing line and wrapped it around his arm twice. With a shake of her hand, Yi-Ro lifted Fong Yan out of the water. Fong Yan untied the fishing line on his arm and looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin calmly and casually to prove to them that he was fine and that he was just joking with Yi-Ro. He said, "Do I look like a mermaid?" Jiang Qin stared at Fong Yan for a while and said to Yuan Lin, "I told you they can't, indeed." Yuan Lin nodded. Who would be so mean to their boyfriend? Fortunately, it's not, Jiang Qin said. Fortunately, it's not, Yuan Lin also said. Fang Yin knew that his disguise had failed, and he had no prestige in front of these two girls. A gust of wind came and his body couldn't help shivering. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something but shivered again. Then, he strode to the riverbank and said, "I'll go back and change my clothes." Crack! Fang Yen ran too fast and used too much force, so he broke the ice and fell into the ice hole again. "Yi Ro, help me!" Fang Yen patted the ice pieces in the ice water. "Save me again." Yi Ro had to save him again. The only man in the group left, and the three women who were not familiar with each other stared at each other. Yi Ro could feel the faint hostility of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to her, and she also knew that it was because of Fang Yen. However, Fang Yen was gone. As the host of Swallow Dock, she felt that she had the responsibility and obligation to take care of these two guests, who came from afar. So, she tried to smile. At least she thought so. She looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin and said, "I can teach you how to fish." This was her way of expressing kindness, although it was not very natural and practiced. But it was indeed the best she could do. Her short hair was flying in the cold wind, and her red sportswear made her look like a red elf in this world of ice and snow. When she spoke, she looked at the eyes of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin very seriously. Her eyelashes were curved and her lips were slightly pursed, which made her look stubborn and cute. Yes, Yi Ro was really a stubborn and cute little girl. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at each other, and Jiang Qin immediately accepted Yi Ro's kindness. He said with a smile, "Okay. Thank you, Sister Ro." Yuan Lin immediately stuck to Yi Ro, holding her arm and said, "Sister Ro, can you teach us how to hunt rabbits?" Yi Ro was so accurate that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's eyes almost fell out. The two of them were really envious. They felt that if they learned this unique skill, would they still be short of rabbit meat in the future? Yi Ro was not used to this kind of contact with people. Maybe because Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked sweet and cute, she didn't reject their approach. Hearing Yuan Lin's request, Yi Ro looked serious. "What's wrong? Sister Ro doesn't want to teach us how to hunt rabbits?" "It's not easy to teach," Yi Ro said. "I've been practicing since I was a child." Yi Ro was worried that they would misunderstand, so she explained patiently, "It takes a long time." Picking up a small stone from the ground, lifting her wrist and throwing the stone could kill pheasants and hares. Even old hunters who had been wandering in the deep mountains and forests for more than 10 years couldn't do it. They still needed the help of tools like bows and arrows. It not only required high eyesight, accuracy, speed, strength and other aspects, but also Yi Ro used a little internal force. She really didn't have the confidence to make Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin so powerful in 2 or 3 days. Yuan Lin stuck out her tongue and said, "It's so troublesome." "Then we'll learn fishing from you first." Yi Ro let out a long sigh of relief. It was more difficult for her to deal with the children's request than to beat Fang Yen. Fang Yen changed his clothes and sat in the living room chatting with his mother. They hadn't seen each other for a while, so they had endless topics to talk about. They made a pot of charcoal fire and held a cup of fragrant tea. From time to time, they could hear laughter. It was a happy and harmonious atmosphere. Mainly, Fang Yen told his mother about his various experiences in Huaqing and his various dazzling achievements. Although Lu Wan knew that everything her son said should be discounted by 15% and squeezed hard to make it more believable, she still listened with great interest. Her son was her pride and her continuation in this world. It wasn't until the sky turned dark that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin came back, huffing and puffing. "Mr. Fang, come help." They carried a small bucket together, which was actually filled with a bucket of live fish. There were too many fish in the water and the road was too slippery. They didn't have enough strength, so it was quite difficult for them to walk. Fang Yen hurried over to greet them. He was surprised to see the bucket full of big fish and said, "You two caught so many?" "Of course," Jiang Qin said proudly. Seeing Fang Yen looking at her with a playful look, Jiang Qin's little face suddenly turned pink. She said, "We caught a lot, and Sister Ru gave all the fish she caught to us. So we have this much." "No wonder," Fang Yen said. "Yi Ru gave all the fish she caught to these two girls, so it was not strange at all to have such a bucket of fish. Sister Ru taught us fishing today," Yuan Lin said as if she was showing off. She said, Sister Ru, very smoothly and naturally. Compared with Sister Ru before, she was more enthusiastic and intimate. It was not a simple perfunctory. It seemed that they got along well this afternoon. Sister Ru is very careful. She knew that we couldn't carry the bucket, so she helped us to carry it to the side of the pond. Then she let us carry it in by ourselves, Jiang Qin said. In just a moment, she was also conquered by Yi Ru's charm. "That's what I said," Fang Yen said with a smile. There was a long distance from the Shihizi River to the Fang's house. This bucket of fish was so heavy. How could Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin carry it back? It must be Yi Ru's help. "Where's Yi Ru?" Fang Yen asked. Jiang Qin rolled her eyes and said, "How can you call her by her name directly? We all call her Sister Ru. You can call her Ru." "I call her Ruru?" Fang Yen was really angry with these two traitors. He said, "Who pushed me into the river just now? Why didn't you two speak up for me at that time? Now I call her Yi Ruru, and you two can't stand it anymore? At that time, we also wanted to speak up for you," Jiang Qin said aggrievedly. "But we saw that you couldn't beat her. What if she got angry and threw us into the river too?" Yuan Lin said shamefully. "Our bodies are not as good as yours. If we fall into the water, we will definitely get sick." "Who asked you to fall into the water?" Lu Wan came out of the inner room and took Jiang Qin's and Yuan Lin's cold little hands. She said with heartache, "Fang Yen, you bastard. Where did he take you to play on such a cold day? Look at how cold your hands are. Come back and have a cup of ginger tea to warm up your body. I know you are weak, so I asked someone to make it in advance." Fang Yen really wanted to cry but had no tears. "Mom, you have to touch your conscience. Who forced me to take these two little kids out to play?" Fang Yen walked to the door of the yard and had a look. Yi Ruru had already disappeared. All that was left was the dusky sky and the fluttering snow. Lu Wan came over and looked outside the door. She said thoughtfully, "Maybe the toad really ate the swan meat." "Mom, don't say that." Fang Yen looked at Lu Wan seriously and said, "Yi Ruru is not a toad." Chapter 358. Children don't despise their mothers for being ugly, and mothers don't despise their sons for being cheap. In the world, parents are the group who love their children the most. It was because his love was too deep that he always put himself in their shoes to think about problems. If their son is right, then he is right. If their son is wrong, then he must have a reason to be wrong. Their only son, Fang Yen, has been beaten by Yi Ru for years. He is often beaten black and blue and can't get out of bed for 30 or 50 years. Lu Wan must be dissatisfied with Yi Ru. That's understandable. Fang Yen didn't want his mother to have a deep prejudice against Yi Ru. He thought it was just a beautiful misunderstanding, so he tried to resolve it seriously. "Although she often beats me, it's for my own good. Mom, think about it. If Yi Ru didn't beat me every year, how could I have made progress so fast? How could I have realized the heart of Tai Chi earlier than the old drunkard? At that time, everyone said that he was a rare martial arts genius. Although Yi Gentle was a little barbaric and liked to beat people, she wasn't a bad person. It's okay to say that Yi Ru is a toad in front of me, but you can't say it to others. That will affect the relationship between the Fang and the Yi. You know, the relationship between our two families was not very good before. I just went to melt the ice, and the Yi family seems to be willing to accept our kindness. Besides, you can't describe your son as a swan. I'm a red-crowned crane at most." Slap. Fang Yen was slapped on the head. Lu Wan, a gentle and graceful woman, couldn't stand her son's extreme narcissism and shamelessness. She put one hand on her waist and pointed the middle finger at Fang Yan's head with the other hand, scolding, "Who said Yi Ro is a toad? When did I say Yi Ro is a toad? I said you are a toad and Yi Ro is a swan. What kind of swan are you? Is there a swan as ugly as you? I'm going to die of anger because of you." "Mom, calm down." Fang Yan saw his mother was angry, so he quickly comforted her. "Yi Gentle is not a toad, okay? I'm worried that you might have such thoughts and that you don't like Yi Ru. That's why I want to talk to you and get rid of the contradiction and not in your heart. Since you said she's not a toad, it proves that you don't have any contradiction or not in your heart. Isn't that a good thing? What conflict would I have? What not could I have in my heart? Am I an ignorant village woman? Or do you think I'm stupid? How could I not know what Yi Ro has done for the Fang family? Am I not grateful? I'm a useless mother, and I still need a little girl to help me educate my son." Fang Yan blushed and said, "Mom, don't say that. We were just sparring, and I lost to her a few times. Why would you need her to teach your son?" "What? Are you ashamed now? Why haven't I seen you blush before? Didn't you say that you wanted to take revenge? Didn't you say that you would marry Yi Gentle as your daughter-in-law and beat her every day? Didn't you say that you would let her give birth to dozens of sons for you and make her ugly and disgusting?" Fang Yan opened his eyes wide and said, "Did I say that?" Lu Wan nodded and said, "You lost the 7th competition and one of your legs was broken by her. You drank too much in the backyard with underestimating enemy. When you were sent back, your mouth was full of such drunken words. It makes me angry." "Who sent me back?" Fang Yan asked. "Hero and warrior," Lu Wan said. Fang Yan was relieved and said, "That's good. No one else heard it, so it couldn't be passed to Yi Gentle's ears." Lu Wan sneered and said, "Hero and Yi Gentle sent you back together. That day, Gentle was also drinking with underestimating enemy. You hugged someone and said such drunken words. Can you stop doing such things?" Fang Yan only felt a chill on his back and a burst of fear in his heart. He said, "Yi Gentle, did she say anything? What do you want her to say? According to her character, she wouldn't say anything, would she? Of course." She turned around and left. "She didn't even say hello to us," Lu Wan said. "After your leg was healed, she found an excuse to beat you. I remember." Fang Yan slapped his thigh and said angrily, "I remember. She broke my leg in the competition, and I had to lie in bed for more than 30 days to recover. Later, I couldn't lie in bed anymore, so I secretly invited Yi Fengxing and Li Xiaotian to the back mountain for a barbecue. We roasted a chicken. It was a pheasant, but she said that the chicken was lost by her family. I told her that it was a pheasant and couldn't be lost by her family. Besides, even if it was lost by her family, it was stolen by Li Xiaotian and the others. Because my leg was injured and I was injured, I was only responsible for eating and didn't catch the chicken. In the end, she still beat me, so, after Li Xiaotian and the others carried you back, when I bandaged you and applied medicine for you, although I felt you were very pitiful, I also thought you deserved it. Can you say that about a girl? A girl is willing to give birth to a child for you, which is a great blessing and luck. Is there any grievance that can't be solved? Can you take revenge on others in this way?" Fang Yan's forehead was covered with sweat. "Mom, what's wrong with you today? Words said when you are drunk. Can they be counted?" Dusk came and the snow was swirling. At the door of the small courtyard, the mother and son faced the boundless wilderness outside, saying intimate words that only they knew. Crack! Fang Yan was hit on the head again. Lu Wan pulled Fang Yan's ear and said, "Words said when you are drunk are not counted. You men like to say irresponsible words when you are drunk and do things that you don't want to be responsible for. I can take what you said as drunk words, but what do you want Yi Wenwan to think? Yi Wenwan is an innocent girl, but hearing you say that, beating you is a light punishment. She didn't beat you to death, because she left a root for our Fong family. What else are you not satisfied with? Mom, whose side are you on? Fong Yen said angrily. Anyway, I am your son. How can you speak for Yi Wenwan? She beat me like that and broke my leg. I was just complaining when I was drunk. That's not allowed, is it? Do we still talk about the law in our family? It's not against the law to complain, but it is against the law to beat people. Only your grandfather can deal with you with your temper. Lu Wan couldn't argue with Fong Yen, so she said with a sneer. Grandpa, Fong Yen had a feeling of danger again. It was like when he heard that he scolded Yi Wenwan in front of her after he was drunk. Not scolded, but made up his mind to marry her and make her give birth to a son for him. It was more dangerous than hearing that. What did he do? After your grandfather heard about it, he drank 2 liters of shadaozi alone. After he was drunk, he yelled that his grandson was promising. Look, Grandpa is also on my side, which means I did the right thing, Fong Yen said. Of course. Your grandpa went to the Yi family after he got drunk and proposed marriage to them. He said he wanted them to marry Yi Ro to you as their daughter-in-law. Lu Wan couldn't bear to see her son's complacent face, so she kept saying something shocking. Ovo. Fong Yen was really stunned this time. Not only was he stunned, but he was also frightened by the news. Grandpa, he went to Yi family to propose marriage to Yi family? He hoped that Yi family would marry Yi Wenwan, their most cherished and cherished treasure, to me? Grandpa, how could he do such a thing? I understand, everything is clear now. No wonder the relationship between Yi family and Fong family became worse. No wonder Yi Wenwan almost beat me to death in the following competition. No wonder. Fong Yen thought of another thing. At that time, Yi Wenwan was also there to watch the duel between him and the Japanese sword god Chiba at the top of One Sword Peak. When his life was in danger and he was temporarily at a disadvantage, Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan couldn't help rushing to help, but they were stopped by Miss Yi. According to Fong Yingying, the way Miss Yi stopped them was very impolite. Yi Wenwan shouted at that time, which basically meant that if he died in the battle, she would go to challenge him. If I died in the battle, the old drunkard would go to challenge him. If all the masters of our Fong family died, there are other heroes of Hua Xia to challenge him. It's not your turn to die. After the duel, Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan retold the scene to Fong Yen and thought about it with Fong Yen. Fong Yen thought about it by himself, while the 2 idiots squatted beside him and pretended that they were also working hard. What did Yi Wenwan mean by that? What did she mean by all the masters of our Fong family died? She used the word we, which meant that she also regarded herself as a member of the Fong family. Or was it just a slip of the tongue, and they were thinking too much? Of course, Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan expressed a lot of dissatisfaction with Yi Wenwan's words. What made them most angry was that she said, "It's not your turn to die." What does that mean? We are also masters of the Fong family, okay? Why can't we die? If we want to die, we must die. If we have something to do, we must die. If we want to die, we must die every day. Fong Yen was stunned for a long time. Looking at his mother's delicate and dignified face, he said, "What did the Yi family say?" Lu Wan sighed softly and said, "At that time, Yi Daoxian, the second most hot-tempered of the 3 tigers of the Yi family, was also at home. He said that they wouldn't agree to let Yi Wenwan marry you unless the waterfall on Green Mountain flowed backward, the river didn't freeze in winter, and the toad ate swan meat." Chapter 359. The waterfall flowed backward, the river was not frozen, and the toad wanted to eat the swan's meat. Any of these 3 conditions could make people very embarrassed. What's more, they put forward 3 conditions at one go, and all 3 had to be fulfilled at the same time. Fong Yen was very calm, and Fong Yen was not angry at all. He looked at his mother Lu Wan with a bitter smile and said, "How much does the Yi family hate me? How could they put forward such harsh conditions? You can't think like that, Lu Wan said. If I were Yi Ruer's mother, I would not agree to marry my daughter to you. Mom, are you my mother or not? Fang Yen stared at Lu Wan and said, Am I not good? It's not that you are not good, but you are not good to Ruer. Lu Wan looked at her son lovingly and said, Everyone in Swallow Dock knows about you and Phoenix. You like Phoenix, and your grandpa went to the Yi family to propose for you. The Yi family did not do anything to your grandpa, because he is not in good health. If the other families in Swallow Dock dared to propose, they would probably throw you into the pond at the door to feed the turtles. The Yi family is born to be prouder than the other families, and you know it. Fang Yen sighed softly and said, Grandpa is really a bad matchmaker. I thought so before, Lu Wan said. Now I think he is really far-sighted. When he went to the Yi family to challenge for you, everyone thought he was asking for humiliation, but what happened? Who benefited in the end? It's you and the Fang family. I'm going to talk to Grandpa, Fang Yen said. Lu Wan smiled and patted off the snow on Fang Yan's body, saying, Go ahead. Your grandpa is not in good health. He can go out to play chess with others when the weather is good, but when the weather is cold, he can only stay in the room alone, which makes him very uncomfortable. You are not often at home now, and you underestimate the enemy. Usually, there is no one to talk to him. I understand, Fang Yen said. I'll bring a bottle of plum wine for him. Lu Wan closed the door and said, Your grandfather's health is not good. He can't drink too much. Fang Huwei gulped down the plum wine in the cup, wiped the wine stains on his mouth, and said, Why can't I go to the Yi family to propose marriage? What's wrong with my grandson? Don't tell me he's not good enough for their daughter? Do you really think I'm worthy? Fang Yen asked with a smile. Of course, Fang Huwei said without hesitation. Although you were a little funny in the past, you're a man. As you grow older, you'll gain more knowledge. As you grow older, you'll become more and more capable. Look at you, when you were a teenager, you were always sneaking around and fighting with people. Have you done those things in the past few years? Fang Yen regretted coming to chat with his grandfather to relieve his boredom. She had relieved the old man's boredom, but she herself was getting more and more depressed. Logically speaking, we old fellows shouldn't get involved in the affairs of the younger generation. Fang Huwei stared at the wine pot in Fang Yan's hand, handed over his empty cup and said, Pour me another cup. You're not my father. You're my grandfather. Fang Yen said grumpily. This is the last cup. When I came here, my mother told me not to let you drink too much. I'm used to it. When I was young, I always called myself your father, and I accidentally became your grandfather. Fang Huwei held the plum wine and smiled honestly. Then he stared at him and shouted, What do women know? If you don't drink to your heart's content, is it drinking? Don't use your mother's words to shut me up. Although my legs are paralyzed, you don't dare to fight back if I want to beat you. Fang Yen thought what he said was very reasonable, and he was speechless. Who dared to beat his grandfather? The daughter of the Yi family is good. Fang Huwei laughed. It's a blessing for you to marry the daughter of the Yi family, as well as the Fang family's blessing. You want to ride on the Yi family's coattails? Fang Yen sneered. I won't do such a spineless thing. Then you have to be able to ride on the Yi family's coattails. Who can ride on the Yi family's coattails? Fang Huwei glanced at Fang Yen and said, Kid, I'm talking to you very seriously today. You can't let that kid of the Yi family down. What a good kid. Grandpa, you make it sound like the daughter of the Yi family won't marry anyone but your grandson. The waterfall flows backwards, the river doesn't freeze, and the toad eats swan meat. Which one of them can we do? That was before. Fang Huwei said disdainfully. When the weather is better tomorrow, I'll go to the Yi family to propose for you. I don't believe that they dare to be dissatisfied with my grandson now. We'll change what they don't like, and one day they'll be satisfied. Fang Yen really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He had only heard of people who cheated their fathers and cheated their sons, but he had never seen someone who cheated their grandson like this. The Spring Festival was approaching, and it would be New Year's Eve in a few days. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had to go home for the festival no matter how reluctant they were. They didn't dare to not go home to reunite with their families on the New Year's Eve. Fang Yen booked plane tickets for Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to return to Huaqing in advance. He first sent the two girls back to school to pack their luggage, and then dragged them to the airport. Fang Yen was still driving the old car with a red flag. The scratches on the car had been repainted, and the damaged parts had been repaired. Although it looked more beautiful than before, Fang Yen still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He still liked the natural color that had been preserved by the frost of time and the baptism of wind and snow. Because Fang Yen felt uncomfortable in his heart, he thought about the repair money he got from Huang Yida a few times. Thinking that he still owed him a few million yuan, his depressed mood was relieved a lot. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were really depressed. Jiang Qin sighed and said, "Mr. Fang, I really don't want to go back." "Me too," Yuan Lin echoed. "Swallow Dock is still fun. Grandpa is very good to us, and always tells us funny stories. And Sister Wenro, she taught us a lot of things, and every time she catches a fish, she will give it to us. She also doesn't want us to go back." "We have to go back," Fang Yen said with a smile. "Jiang Qin, your mother knows that you are here, and has already called me a few times, asking me when you will go back. If you don't go back, I'm afraid Sister Li will kill her way back to Yanjing. It's better to kill her way back. Then we will all stay in Swallow Dock to celebrate the festival." Jiang Qin said happily. Yuan Lin also wanted to say the same thing, but her mouth opened, but she couldn't say it. Her family was different from Jiang Qin's, and she didn't have the confidence to persuade everyone in her family to come to Swallow Dock for the festival. "It's okay, the gate of Swallow Dock will be open to you at any time," Fang Yen comforted. He thought, these two little kids finally went back. In the future, no one would force him to wander around the village with the two kids, go skating in the Stone River on a cold day, catch birds in the bamboo forest, and hunt pheasants and rabbits in the woods at the back of the mountain. He could have a good sleep for a few days. "That's great. Then we will go back to school early after the Spring Festival, and then come to Swallow Dock to find you," Jiang Qin said excitedly. Yuan Lin's eyes also lit up and she said, "I think that's good too." "That's not good, right?" Fang Yen said awkwardly. "Then it's decided," Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin said happily. After sending Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin through the security check, he casually tossed them a handful of tears of extreme sadness, and then drove back to Yanjing City in high spirits. After getting off the airport highway, Fang Yen was about to turn directly to the road to Swallow Dock when the phone in his pocket rang. Fang Yen took out his phone and saw that the caller ID was Yi Fengxing's number. Fang Yen stopped the car by the roadside, pressed the answer button and asked, "Fatty, what's up?" Run. "No, Fang Yen, where are you?" Fatso's Yi Fengxing's voice came from the other side of the phone. "I just got off the airport highway," Fang Yen said. He thought, I have to find a way to erase the nickname, Run Fang. It would affect my glorious and great image too much. I went to your house to find you, and I knew you were in the city. That's why I called you. Are you in the city now? Wait for me in the city. Us brothers can have a gathering. Where is the gathering? Fang Yen asked. Go to Nanshan Hill for dinner first. Li Xiaotian will arrange tonight's event. Yi Fengxing said. Fang Yen thought about it. He didn't have anything to do at home, so he said, Okay, I'll wait for you guys at Nanshan Hill. Okay. See you later. I'm already on my way. Yi Fengxing said. Fang Yen started the car again, and ran towards Yanjing City that was covered by the wind and snow. Nanshan Hill was a restaurant, and it was also the place where Fang Yen and his buddies often gathered. Fang Yen parked the car at Nanshan Hill's parking lot, and Yi Fengxing also rushed over in his domineering Land Rover. Yi Fengxing very proudly honked his horn as a greeting to Fang Yen. After the two parked the car, Yi Fengxing moved his fat butt and ran over. He put his arm around Fang Yan's shoulder and said, "Let's eat first. I'll take you out to see the world tonight. If you want to drink or look at women, you don't have to call me. You know, I'm not that kind of person," Fang Yan said. Yi Fengxing glanced at him with disdain and said, "My sister beat you like a dog, and you still want to chase after her. Do you think I'll look up to you and say good things about you in front of her just because you said that to me? I'm telling you, that's impossible. In our hearts you will always be run Fang. You really won't. I really won't. I just like your stubborn attitude." Fang Yan hugged Yi Fengxing back and asked, "Where are you taking me tonight? Do you know Lu Qi?" Yi Fengxing asked excitedly. "One of Huaxia's 7 addicts, Lu Qi?" Fang Yan's eyes also lit up. Chapter 360. At a gathering of best friends, they naturally had to eat big chunks of meat, drink big bowls of wine, and comment on the hottest women. "Come, let's toast to our Pretty Flower Group in Yanjing City." Yi Fengxing, the senior member of Pretty Flower Group, who was the least like Pretty Flower Group, raised his cup first and shouted, "Cheers!" A group of men raised their bowls and slammed them together. Bang! Wine splashed everywhere. Everyone imitated the heroic manner of drinking. They raised their heads and the bottom of the bowl was very high. They swallowed while the wine flowed sideways. Only half of the wine went into their stomach. Everyone was doing this. No one was stupid. Fang Yan, Li Xiaotian, Ruan Jing, Zhu Ziden, plus Chen Yanqing, who was currently working in a ministry in Yanjing City, and Wang Kaixian, who had moved into the military compound because of the promotion of his father's position. To be able to gather so many people at once was indeed a matter worth being happy about. Chen Yanqing walked to Fang Yan with a bowl of wine and said with a smile, "Running Fang, let's have a drink. Not everyone dares to stand you row up. You're the first one. Just for this, I have to toast to you." "That's not running," Fang Yan said with a smile. "I just don't feel very well, so I wanted to go out for a walk and take a breather." "But that walk led to Huaqing?" Yi Fengxing said with a sneer. "If anyone believes your nonsense, my sister will have to wait 1.5 years in the Fang family's martial arts hall before she can fight with you again." Fang Yan was not angry. He said confidently, "What's the fighting principle of our pretty boy group? Isn't it just to fight if we can win, and run if we can't? I can't beat Yiro, but I can run faster than her." "Yes, running Fang is right." Wang Kaixian slapped the table in agreement. "If you can't beat her, you're an idiot. Fang Yan, running might not be good, but at least you can avoid a beating. Fengxing, it's not like you don't know your sister's methods. I only went to see her twice and refused to go the third time. If you were Fang Yan, would you run?" Yi Fengxing rolled his eyes and said, "Am I an idiot? Why would you challenge my sister?" Everyone laughed heartily. The men from Swallow Dock were all fond of wine, especially of burning knives. Nanshan restaurant didn't have Xiaodao, so they drank a box of Red Star Erguotu. After finishing a box of Erguotu, Li Xiaotian counted the empty bottles on the table and said, "I say, let's call it a day. There's still a big show waiting for us." Everyone's eyes lit up. Wang Kaixian said excitedly, "Li Xiaotian, can you really take us to see Lu Qi? I heard that the woman is very arrogant and rarely shows her face outside. Countless people can't even get a chance to see her even if they have 1,000 taels of gold. So what if it's thousands of gold?" It's said that in order to save face in front of his friends, the son of a coal boss in Xixia threatened to give a building as a gift for every song he played. The music addict ignored him and turned around to leave, Zhu Ziden said. Li Xiaotian's face was full of pride as he said, "Normally, I wouldn't dare to guarantee anything for you guys. But today, don't worry, leave it to me. Who is my cousin? Bruce Lee. Li Xiaotian's cousin was indeed called Li Xiaolong. Of course, he was not the international superstar who died young. He just had the same name as that person. Li Xiaolong was not good at martial arts, but he was good at business. Relying on his family's connections and resources, he rose rapidly in Yanjing City, which was a place of tigers and dragons, and he did get to know some very powerful people. It snowed heavily in Guangnan a few days ago, and the people of Guangnan were seriously affected. Tonight, a high-profile charity auction would be held at the Maple Leaf Club in Yanjing. In order to increase the gimmick and expand the influence of the auction, the organizers not only invited some popular stars to sing on the stage, but also specially invited Luqi Shuiyun, one of the 7 addicts of Huaxia, to perform on the stage. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples, and one person caused chaos in Yanjing City. Hearing that Luqi Shuiyun was going to perform at the charity auction, those high-ranking officials and nobles naturally wanted to see the elegant demeanor of Luqi, and the active ladies of Yanjing were even more scrambling. In the words of a certain child, "If you can't make it to the auction tonight, how can you call yourself a first-class person in Four Corner City?" Li Xiaolong was also from Swallow Dock, but because he was older than Fang Yan and the others, they did not have many opportunities to contact each other. But this time, Fang Yan and the others could have the opportunity to see the true face of Luqi, and it was indeed because of Li Xiaolong's help. Speaking of the various legends of Luqi, everyone was even more itchy. Yi Fengxing paid the bill by swiping his card. All the brothers had drunk a lot and did not dare to drink and drive in Yanjing City, so they asked the restaurant to arrange 3 designated drivers. The group of people took 3 cars and rushed to the famous and mysterious Maple Leaf Club in Yanjing City. The weather this year was much colder than in previous years, and the snow was endless. The wheels broke the ice and crushed the snow on the ground, but the inside of the car was as warm as summer. Li Xiaotian called his cousin in advance, and Li Xiaolong said that he still had something to deal with and might be a little late, but someone would greet him at the door of the club. Maple Leaf Club was one of the new top clubs in Yanjing City. It was said to be new because it had not been established for a long time, and it could be regarded as a rising star in the club world. Unlike the previous 4 clubs of Huaxia, such as the Capital Club, the Chang'an Club, the America Club, and the Huaxia Club, which focused on male organizers and members, Maple Leaf Club was said to be formed by a group of extremely low-key but dazzling women. This group of women was not inferior to men, and they firmly believed that women could also hold up half the sky. Not only did they achieve extraordinary achievements in the areas of accumulation of contacts, economic operation, and the right to speak, but they also far surpassed the other old clubs in fashion shows, wine tasting parties, art appreciation, and food festivals. During the snow disaster in the south, Maple Leaf Club took the lead in holding a charity auction in Yanjing City, and all the proceeds were used to buy materials for the victims in the south. Not only did they win fame, but they also expanded the influence and reputation of the club, which was killing many birds with one stone. The Maple Leaf Club was located on the busiest Black Tortoise Street in Yanjing City. A 50-story building went straight into the sky, and the entrance was crowded with famous cars and celebrities. There were even media reporters taking pictures outside the courtyard. Of course, it was impossible for them to squeeze into the center, because the security measures outside were too strict. As soon as Fang Yan and his friends got out of the car, a middle-aged man in a black suit and glasses quickly came to greet them. The middle-aged man was a member of the Li family, and also an uncle who came to Swallow Fort to make a living. He was very familiar with Fang Yan and the others. After greeting Fang Yan, Yi Fengxing, and the others, he walked to Li Xiaotian and said, "Xiaotian, Mr. Li asked me to pick you up." "Thank you, Uncle Biao." Li Xiaotian was very respectful to the middle-aged man. Li Biao smiled and said, "What are you thanking me for? We're all family. Mr. Li is busy meeting an important guest, otherwise he would have come by himself." Then my brother won't come today? Li Xiaotian asked with some regret. Mr. Li will come, Li Biao said. Li Biao led the group to a special sightseeing elevator. After swiping the card, the elevator door opened automatically. He waited until everyone had walked in, then he pressed the letter H, turned around and explained to Fang Yan and the others, "This building is all the property of the Maple Leaf Society, but tonight's auction will be held on the top floor, Starlight World." Starlight World? What kind of place is that? Li Xiaotian asked doubtfully. You'll know when you go in, Li Biao said with a smile. In less than 40 seconds, the elevator stopped. Then, Fang Yan and his friends were shocked by the scene in front of them. They finally understood what the so-called Starlight World meant. The top floor of the whole building was a huge, vast, and magnificent room. There were partitions and no obstacles, and people could walk freely in the room. However, it would probably take some time to walk through the whole room. The top floor of the whole room was made of an oval glass wall. There was no steel frame, as if it was carved out of a natural crystal. White light shone in, which was reflected by the snow on the top floor. The frost could be seen, but the wind could not be heard. In some places where the frost was thin, snowflakes could be seen dancing in the wind. One could imagine how beautiful this starlight world would be in summer when the sky was full of stars. Fang Yan said with a smile, "The owner of this club is really broad-minded and bold." "And a lot of money," Yuan Qian said with a smile. "Just this piece of glass is enough for me to live a carefree life." Li Biao said with a smile, "Feel free to walk around, I won't disturb you." "Thank you, Uncle Biao," Fang Yan said gratefully. Li Biao patted Fang Yan's shoulder, turned around and walked outside. Yi Fengxing looked around and said, "I'm really curious. I heard that this club was built by a few women. Who are they? It would be great if I could get to know them." "A toad wants to eat swan meat." A sarcastic voice came. "Who's scolding me?" Fang Yan thought angrily in his heart. These 2 days, he was very sensitive to the phrase, "a toad wants to eat swan meat." As long as someone said it in front of him, his first reaction was that the person was scolding him. Behind them stood a thin man wearing glasses. The man stared at Yi Fengxing fiercely and said, "Yi Fengxing, you really don't know how long your face is. Fatso doesn't know how fat he is. You want to meet the 3 maple leaves of the Maple Leaf Society? Who do you think you are?" When Fang Yan was sure that the person was not scolding him, he was relieved. He thought to himself, "I knew it. How can my popularity be so bad that people hate me wherever I go? Besides, I'm safe and not cheap anymore. How can you still scold me?" Chapter 361. Fang Yan felt that he had a naturally mocking face. Anyone who saw him would want to punch him. Swallow Dock had fled to Huaqing. How much trouble had he caused in just half a year? The enemies behind his buttocks were like a lump of sheep's dung, there was no end to them. Fang Yan always felt that those who bullied him did not truly understand him. If they could calm down and understand him, they would definitely think of a way to kill him. Yes, he was a good person. He was a low-class, good-for-nothing good person. He was not greedy for the dark, did not blend in with evil. He was talented and righteous. For such a kind person, how could those bad people let him live a happy and long life? They would definitely think of a way to get rid of Fang Yan, this thorn in their side. This was because Fang Yan's existence would illuminate the dark and damp depths of their hearts. He would judge their ugly minds and rotten, pus and blood hearts. Like mosquitoes under the light, like maggots roasted by the sun, they would reveal their true colors and have nowhere to hide. Good and evil were natural enemies. It was difficult to reconcile. Yes, that was what Fang Yan thought. Don't bully me. Those who bully me are bad people. Thank the heavens, no one bullied him today. However, it didn't feel good to see his friend being insulted. Fang Yan looked at Yi Fengxing in confusion and asked, "You know him?" "Jiang Pingji, a scum. Yi Fengxing curled his lips and said carelessly. Last time in Kunlun, he tried to hit on my girl and I taught him a lesson. You're not talking about that little pepper from Bailey clan, are you? Fang Yan asked. You speak as if she's the only girl I have. Yi Fengxing was very dissatisfied with Fang Yan's question. But she was the one I brought last time. You go first, Fang Yan said. Shout when you need help. Everyone, let's trample him. We men of Swallow's Dock won't do something like bullying others when we are outnumbered. No problem. Just wait and see. Yi Fengxing looked at Jiang Pingji with a murderous look and said, I alone am enough. No matter if it's civil or military, he's not strong enough. Yi Fengxing walked up to Jiang Pingji, shaking his big butt. He stared at the pretty boy's face and asked, Have you seen the 3 golden flowers of the Maple Leaf Society? Of course I have. Jiang Pingji felt a little guilty, but since Yi Fengxing had thrown out the problem, he could only bite the bullet. Otherwise, wouldn't the words he used to scold Yi Fengxing just now fall on him? Then tell us, who are the 3 golden flowers? Why should I tell you? Jiang Pingji sneered. If you're ignorant, then read more. If you're incapable, then lower your head more. Don't run out with your head held high like a giant dumb bird and get laughed at. Yi Fengxing was stunned for a while. He looked at Jiang Pingji and said, That sentence makes so much sense that I'm speechless. If you're ignorant, then read more. If you're incapable, then lower your head more. He had clearly never seen the 3 golden flowers before, and he might not even have heard of their famous names. Yet, he pretended to be very familiar with them. This kind of shameless act of sticking gold on his own face was not something an ordinary person could do. I suggest you do it less in the future. Those who can attend tonight's gathering are all famous people. Maybe someone who doesn't like you will come out and give you a few slaps. Yi Fengxing suddenly raised his voice and shouted, What? You said you're very familiar with the 3 founders of the Maple Leaf Society? You even ate hot pot together at Nanshan 2 days ago and drank until 4 in the morning last night. Is that true? Brother Jiang, you can't lie to me. With Yi Fengxing's shout, some of the guests who had just walked in naturally cast their gazes over. Jiang Pingji's face turned red from being stared at by so many people. He stared fiercely at Yi Fengxing and said, Yi, we've formed a grudge. Just wait and see. We've formed a grudge last time, okay? Yi Fengxing sneered. Last time I could slap your left cheek, this time I can slap your right cheek. If you don't believe me, let's go out and spar? Jiang Pingji, of course, didn't want to spar with Yi Fengxing. Yi Fengxing came from Swallow Dock. Although he wasn't as strong as geniuses like Fang Yan, Bailey Lu, and Bai Xiu, he was more than enough to deal with the 3 horned cats outside. This was also the reason why he rarely suffered losses in Yanjing City. Last time, Jiang Pingji let his bodyguard challenge Yi Fengxing one-on-one. The bodyguard lost, and he also suffered. Now, he naturally wouldn't suffer such a loss again. All brawn and no brains. Jiang Pingji pointed at Yi Fengxing, turned around and walked into the crowd. Seeing that it was just a few young people quarreling, everyone continued to talk and laugh as they walked inside. In a gathering like this, it would be very boring if there wasn't any excitement. Fang Yan took the champagne from Wan Qian and said, What did you say to that girl from Bailey Lu's family? What can I do? She has long been conquered by my heroic bearing and profound knowledge. Yi Fengxing said with a face full of pride. Whether or not I want her, it's just a matter of a word. Fang Yan laughed out loud and said, Why do I feel that you can listen to the opposite of what you said? Run, Fang, run. If you're like this, no one wants to be friends with you. Yi Fengxing said angrily. Shoo! Keep a low profile. Fang Yan advised. Look at the others. The women are dressed in beautiful dresses, high heels, long legs, beautiful and dignified. The men are dressed in suits and leather shoes, refined and elegant, handsome and extraordinary, looking very stylish. We can't act too different and let others misunderstand that we're hooligans who sneak in to eat and drink. If the security guards come to chase us away, we'll be embarrassed, and Brother Xiaolong will also lose face, right? Come, everyone, be refined, be refined. Thus, Fang Yen and a group of friends held the golden champagne and sipped it, talking about Nietzsche, Kant, value and the distribution of capital wealth, and other big issues that affected the entire human society. As expected, the gazes that looked at them immediately became joyful and gentle. Everyone was the same kind of person. Did you see that? The guy hugging the girl in the red cheongsam is a famous Casanova in Yenjing. His father is the big boss of the mountain group, with a net worth of more than 10 billion yuan. Li Shaoqing is here. He starred in All the Inheritors from the Stars, which is very popular in Asia, and now he's very popular. It's said that he's been secretly scouted by the director. That fair and gentle guy with glasses is gay. He's very famous in the Yenjing circle. Li Xiaotian and Yi Fengxing, these guys who often hung out in Yenjing City, kept introducing some special people to Fang Yen, and Fang Yen also seriously memorized the information. Maybe he could use it at any time. Whoosh! Another group of people rushed in. The man in the lead was tall, wearing a black suit and a white shirt with 2 buttons unbuttoned. He didn't wear a bow tie or tie like other men, making him look more unrestrained than others. Seeing that man, many people took the initiative to greet him. Young Master Jiang, you're finally here. Without young Master Jiang's gathering, I always feel that something is missing. A woman in a white dress came forward and held General Xing's arm, saying with a flattering expression, if someone else received such praise, they would probably become public enemy number 1. However, when the woman said this so calmly and directly in front of so many men, the men present didn't have any strange reactions. Of course, Teacher Fang Huohuo was an exception. Teacher Fang Huohuo was not only an exception but also very surprised. Young Master Jiang? Another member of the Jiang family? Why are they haunting me? Fang Yen thought angrily. Young Master Jiang, you have to contribute more to the disaster area today. Do you even need to say that? When has young Master Jiang ever been stingy? More and more people gathered around General Xing, and the group became bigger and bigger. He had a completely mesmerizing appearance. What was even more surprising was that not only women were fascinated by him, but men were also fascinated by him. Even some of the older people expressed their deep affection for him. This made people have a whole new level of respect for him. Fang Yen was originally worried that he would be discovered by General Xing, and the two of them would have a hot-blooded, blood-spurting fight between a loser and a rich man in front of everyone. Now that the crowd had surrounded General Xing, even if he walked in front of Fang Yen, he probably wouldn't be able to see Fang Yan's existence. General Xing handled this kind of situation with ease. While dealing with the ambiguity of the beauties and eating some not too big but sweet tofu, he also had an intimate and harmonious conversation with the young masters who followed him or the people in charge of certain group. General Xing, Yi Fengxing stood next to Fang Yen and said with a cold face, "He's very famous, but has very little ability. He's a playboy. You're definitely no stranger to his younger brother. Children should be like Jiang Junling." He's talking about his younger brother. The two of them don't seem to be born from the same mother at all. Fang Yan's eyes were fixed on General Xing in the middle of the crowd, and he said with a smile, "Don't say his name, don't look at his appearance, I can guess that he's born from the same mother." "Why do you say that?" Yi Fengxing asked doubtfully. No one thought that General Xing was similar to Jiang Junling. General Xing was elegant, and he was proud of the flowers. Jiang Junling was gentle and ordinary. If his name was not mentioned, everyone would think that he was a teacher or a writer when they saw him. No one associated him with the famous Jiang Junling. The way of showing off is exactly the same. Fang Yen said with a smile. One pretends to be an ordinary person, and is very anxious to tell others not to look at me with strange eyes, that I actually don't have any ability, that I'm just an ordinary young man. Do real ordinary people need to pretend like this? One pretends to be a playboy. He's obviously very ambitious, but he still pretends to be disgusting, as if he doesn't care about anything, that he won't fight with you for anything. I say, isn't their acting a bit too bad? How can this kind of trash become a role model? Chapter 362. Fang Huohuo was such a down-to-earth person. He wouldn't be unwilling to praise you in front of your face just because you were his friend, and he wouldn't hide his negative views of you just because you were his enemy. For example, General Hang and the Jiang Junling brothers. If you didn't like them, then you didn't like them. If you didn't like them, then you had to tell the reason why you didn't like them. Who knows, maybe other people wouldn't like them after hearing it? As expected, after hearing Fang Yan's comments, Yi Fengxing, Zhu Ziden and the others were indeed a bit confused. After thinking about it from a different perspective, they realized that Fang Yan's words were very reasonable, and they couldn't refute him. Yi Fengxing was stunned for a while, then said, I used to think that it was good for them to act pretentious like this, but after hearing what you said, I think they're really stupid. They're a bit too childish. Why don't we help them redesign their pretentious path? That won't do, it'll be easily seen through. Pretentious is a skill. Ruan Qian smiled shyly and said, Not everyone can be like me, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. You're pretending to be a tiger to eat a pig, aren't you? Yi Fengxing sneered. Those girls that were tricked by you to come to Swallow Dock are all as stupid as pigs. You're so skilled, repeating the same trick again and again, and there are still people who keep falling for it. I say, where did you find these idiotic girls? Introduce me to a few? You insulted me and still want me to share my secret with you. Do you think I'll tell you? Ruan Qian said angrily. General Hang still discovered Fang Yan, because someone pointed him out. The person who pointed him out was Li Guochang, and the person who fanned the flames in front of Li Guochang was Jiang Pingji. Jiang Pingji could be arrogant and despotic in Yanjing City mainly because he was a distant relative of Li Guochang. Originally, the two of them didn't have much contact, but as Jiang Pingji's father displayed more and more talent and value, he was gradually accepted and valued by the Li family. Wang Pingji didn't know Fang Yan, but he remembered Yi Fengxing in his heart. Last time, Yi Fengxing had beaten him up, and this time, he had humiliated him in front of everyone. He had been thinking of revenge, but could not find a way to do so. Just like what Yi Fengxing had said, they couldn't win against him in scolding or fighting. What should they do? Jiang Pingji's eyes lit up when he saw Li Guoqiang accompanying the young master of the general family, Jun Xing. He thought of a ruthless way to take advantage of the situation. If Li Guoqiang was willing to stand up for him, then he would be able to settle his old and new grudges all at once. Even if Yi Fengxing was barbaric and overbearing, how could he dare to challenge Li Guoqiang, who had a deep foundation in Yanjing City and had a close relationship with the young master of the Jiang family? As long as he wasn't stupid, he could only swallow this loss. Therefore, Jiang Pingji found an opportunity to go to Li Guoqiang's side and told him that he had been bullied. Of course, all the responsibility was pushed onto Yi Fengxing. He himself became a hero who couldn't bear to see a weak woman being bullied and used force to save her. Li Guoqiang looked in the direction Jiang Pingji was pointing and saw a familiar face. Fang Yan, the guy who made Jiang Junling suffer setbacks again and again, and even his close friend, Jiang Pingji, maintained a high degree of attention on him? He had seen Fang Yan's photo, but this was the first time he had seen Fang Yan in person. From his point of view, Fang Yan looked younger and more spirited than in the photo. His eyes were quick-witted and his temperament was calm. He had the vigor of a youth and the steadiness of a middle-aged man. This was a contradictory person. This kind of person was not easy to deal with. Li Guoqiang felt that it was necessary to tell this matter to Jiang Pingji, so he casually walked to his side and said in a low voice, "Fang Yan is here." Jiang Pingji's footsteps paused and he looked towards Li Guoqiang. Jiang Pingji was like a gorgeous carriage, and the people surrounding it were all horses pulling it. The carriage suddenly stopped, and the horses pulling it naturally felt it deeply. They looked at Jiang Pingji in confusion, thinking that he had met some important person and needed to greet him. In this kind of gathering, some people could be perfunctory, while others needed to be affectionately greeted. It was normal for a big shot like General Xing to stop and greet some people who were the center of attention. General Xing hesitated for a moment before walking in the direction of Fang Yan. Fang Yan was standing next to him. He walked towards Fang Yan, but in fact, he had changed from going straight to turning right. Jiang Pingji's eyes widened, and his face flushed with excitement. "Guanyin Bodhisattva, Gautama Buddha, I only wanted to ask Li Guoqiang to help me teach Yi Fengxing a lesson. Why did I have to ask young Master Jiang to come out personally?" If the matter of the eldest young master helping him get back his face was spread out, who would dare to challenge him in Yanjing City in the future? Jiang Pingji secretly decided that he would be young Master Jiang's dog from now on. She would bite whoever he wanted her to bite, and if he wanted her to eat sh*t, she would eat sh*t. General Xing was walking in the direction of Fang Yan, and Yi Fengxing was standing next to him. It was no wonder that Jiang Pingji would misunderstand that General Xing was trying to support him. Jiang Pingji naturally would not miss such a good opportunity to humiliate Yi Fengxing. He squeezed through the crowd and rushed to the left side of General Xing. He pointed at Yi Fengxing and said, "Young Master Jiang, it's him." General Xing looked at him in confusion. Who was this idiot who seemed to be very familiar with him? Jiang Pingji thought that General Xing did not understand Yi Fengxing's crime and could not question him, so he asked him for advice. He hurriedly said, "He is Yi Fengxing. I stopped him from molesting a good girl in Kunlun Club. In the end, he harbored hatred and repeatedly humiliated me. Just now, he became even worse." Jiang Pingji. Li Guoqiang raised his eyebrows and stared at him angrily. He shouted, "Shut up." So, Jiang Pingji did not dare to speak anymore. His widened eyes revealed the doubt in his heart. What had happened? Fang Yan also saw General Xing. He knew that General Xing was here for him even before Jiang Pingji did, because the direction where he was standing belonged to an isolated group. In this group, there were only him and a few of his die-hard friends from Swallow Dock. General Xing would only come to find him, and he could only come to find him. Before they got close, the two of them had already communicated with their eyes. It was not ferocious and ruthless, and there were no flashes of swords. There was probing and some gentleness. He's not hostile, Fang Yan thought to himself. How can he not be hostile? General Xing walked in front of Fang Yan. After looking him up and down, he laughed and said, "Fang Yan? Fang Yan." Fang Yan also smiled. His smile was very shy. He was like a student who had been named by the principal, or an outstanding young teacher who was praised by the leader, but was still not used to such an honor. General Xing took the initiative to extend his hand to Fang Yan and said, "I have heard a lot about you. We finally meet today. It should be okay to shake hands, right?" "Of course." Fang Yan generously shook General Xing's hand and said, "I should be the one who said I have heard a lot about you. The rumors about the young Master Jiang are rich and interesting. It is an honor to be able to meet him in person today." "Are you scolding me?" General Xing said, pretending to be angry. "The rumors about me are all bad ones. They say that I spent millions of dollars to buy a beauty smile, that I fought with others over a female celebrity, that I went hunting in the Yundian forest but got hit in the crotch by a bear, so my penis is useless. Oh right, there are also people who say that I like gay men, especially those pretty boys with red lips and white teeth. Who wouldn't like to hear such rumors? If these rumors didn't happen to me, I would probably listen to them with as much interest as you." Everyone laughed. They all said that young Master General was humorous. Some people looked at Fang Yen thoughtfully. They wondered why this guy could be so favored by General Xing. What was his background? Jiang Junling was tall. His long hair was combed back, revealing his deep and charming facial features. He didn't like to wear glasses like his younger brother. When he spoke, his eyes looked at you sincerely and warmly, giving people the feeling of a good uncle. He was elegant, and able to lift heavy things as if they were light. He spoke casually, but it was easy to gain the favor of others. Such a guy, Fang Yen thought to himself. He has Jiang Junling, a person from the Great Yin, as his younger brother. He must be very unhappy. However, Jiang Junling probably doesn't like having an older brother who knows how to build connections, right? Fang Yen let go of General Xing's hand and said, "That's why, young Master General, you have to maintain your style, maintain your standards, and create more rumors. Think of it as giving benefits to us fans." Everyone laughed again and praised Fang Yen for being humorous. Some girls also glanced over. They felt that Fang Yen had a handsome appearance, a refined manner, and a sharp tongue. He fit the image of a fresh meat in their hearts. If they could talk in private, having a friendly meal, drinking a cup of coffee, or going on a date was also a good thing. That won't do. There will be a lot of celebrities here tonight. I can't steal their limelight, General Xing said with a smile. He pointed at Fang Yen and raised his voice as he introduced him to the surrounding guests. Perhaps everyone is still a little unfamiliar with this little brother, Fang Yen, the square in Chinese, the in Chinese. Some of them had a look of understanding on their faces, but most of them were confused. Speaking of the name Fang Yen, you might not be familiar with it. However, it was this little brother who caused my younger brother, Jiang Junling, to suffer many setbacks in Huaqing and return to the capital in a sorry state. What an amazing young man, General Xing said with a face full of praise, as if he was an expert guiding a younger generation. Fang Yan's eyes were slightly cold, revealing a hint of killing intent. This was flattery. Chapter 363. Clang. As if they were avoiding a terrifying monster, the people surrounding them couldn't help but take a step back. Because everyone's movements were too uniform, it was as if everyone present had discussed it in advance, causing this originally embarrassing scene to be filled with the beauty of a drama. Fang Yen wasn't scary, but the Fang Yen who caused Jiang Junling to suffer setbacks in Huaqing, and it was said that even his women were stolen by him, was not someone they were willing to come into contact with. The men who had just praised Fang Yan's wit and humor wanted to slap themselves in the face. The young ladies who originally thought that he was a young and tender little fresh meat suddenly felt that this man really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and was seeking his own death. Of all the people he could offend, he just had to offend the men of the Jiang family. Originally, the conflict between Fang Yen and Jiang Junling was only spread within a small circle, but when it was exposed in public by General Xing, it was tantamount to using a loudspeaker to announce to all the people of Yanjing. It only needed one night to ferment, or even less time, for this matter to become a hot topic of discussion in various circles of Yanjing. And General Xing coming here in public was naturally not to exchange feelings and establish friendship with his younger brother's friend. At least, no one would think so. Thus, other than General Xing and a few hardcore people standing beside him who didn't retreat, everyone else tried to stay as far away from Fang Yen as possible. No one was willing to be misunderstood by the Jiang family's brothers as having a close relationship with Fang Yen. The encirclement that made Fang Yen feel slightly oppressed suddenly became a lot more relaxed. Fang Yan's heart also felt a lot more comfortable. He disliked the feeling of being the center of attention and being surrounded by countless people. He was just an ordinary teacher, not a superstar who lived under the spotlight all day. He liked a simple, monotonous life where he could bully others even if he wasn't bullied. General Xing didn't seem to notice the changes in the surrounding environment at all. He still looked at Fang Yan with enthusiasm and a hypocritical look that said, "We are good brothers and I won't harm you." He said to the guests who were watching, "Although I don't have much ability, I like to make friends with capable people the most. My younger brother Jiang Junling is recognized as a smart person by everyone. Even he suffered losses in the hands of Fang Yan, which proves that Brother Fang Yan is indeed outstanding and intelligent. Brother Fang, I came here because I want to be friends with you. I think you won't refuse, right?" "How could that be?" Fang Yan smiled happily, as if he was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. "I am very willing to be friends with young Master Jiang. However, young Master Jiang has spoken about the matter between me and your younger brother in front of everyone. I have to explain here. The younger brother I am talking about is General Xing's younger brother. Didn't you say that I deliberately called General Xing's younger brother? If your younger brother knew about this, wouldn't he misunderstand that you are trying to sow discord?" The smile on General Xing's face didn't change, but there was a murderous look in his eyes. Of course, that murderous look disappeared in a flash, and he instantly regained his calmness. This guy was really a vicious dog, biting people whenever he had the chance. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that you brothers don't get along. Fang Yan sincerely comforted General Xing, saying, "In a family like yours, there are often conflicts between brothers, and even fights between swords often happen. It's all for the sake of benefits. In a big family with a big business, it's inevitable that there will be conflict. It's understandable. Of course, I know that nothing like this will happen between you brothers. However, I think it's better for young Master Jiang to avoid arousing suspicion. You said that your younger brother was bullied by me in front of so many people. Isn't that embarrassing your younger brother? If I were your younger brother, I would definitely feel uncomfortable in my heart and have some other thoughts. I would misunderstand and think that my older brother wants to smear my reputation so that I can't have a foothold in the circle. In the end, the family would have no choice but to consider letting my older brother take charge. I'm young and narrow-minded. So, the things I think are more complicated. I hope young Master Jiang won't take it to heart." Fang Yan sneered in his heart. Want to play dirty? Want to kill with a borrowed knife without drawing blood? Stab with a knife while smiling. Who's afraid of who in this kind of thing? The two people engaged in a battle of words and swords, and the atmosphere at the scene became even more solemn. Everyone held their breath and quietly watched, waiting for the next development of the matter. Jiang Pingji was ashamed and angry, and he was about to cry. "Didn't you say that you would avenge me? Didn't you say that you would support me? Why did the target change? Moreover, the whole matter seems to have nothing to do with me." General Xing laughed heartily, and it seemed that he was not affected by Fang Yan's words at all. He said, "Brother Fang is really interesting, but I want to say that your worries are unnecessary. Jiang Junling and I are brothers, brothers of the same father and mother. I am the elder brother, and he is the younger brother. My younger brother is smarter than me, more capable than me, and more capable than me. Everyone in Yanjing City knows this, including me. So, he is responsible for making money to support the family, and I am responsible for picking leaves and flowers. Our pursuits are not the same. I'm very glad that I have such a smart and capable younger brother. Only in this way can I be an idle playboy without any pressure." General Xing reached out and held the woman in the white dress next to him in his arms and said, "Beauty, don't you think so?" The girl in the white dress blushed and said shyly, "Not everyone can be a playboy like young Master. Besides, it's not like young Master has nothing to do. In my heart, you are a very successful man." "What if," Fang Yan looked at General Xing with a smile and said, "what if young Master Jiang is not willing to be a playboy, and instead wants to learn from his younger brother to earn money to support the family? Brat, what are you saying? Li Guochang shouted. What are you? You dare to provoke the relationship between other brothers? That's right, gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. We have been friends with Big Brother for so many years, how can we not know what kind of person Big Brother is? Lincoln, who wore a pair of small glasses with a tortoiseshell hat on the bridge of his nose, was full of anger. Brat, are you here to cause trouble? Why don't we go out and practice? This guy was a typical fighter. General Xing's younger brother was the first to cause trouble, and the hot-blooded youths of Swallow Dock were not to be outdone. What are you? Who was the first to provoke the relationship? Even an idiot can tell? Are you idiots? Wang Kaishuan's father's generation were all soldiers, so when he opened his mouth, sparks flew everywhere. Gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain? These days, people's hearts are really not what they used to be. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry has the nerve to call themselves a gentleman. Your online name is Gentleman, right? If you don't put your face over, who would be willing to put in the effort to slap you? The hand that slaps the face also hurts. Yi Fengxing, this guy, was also a natural bastard, someone who would rather die than suffer a loss. If others scolded him once, he would scold them back 10 times. Even if the quality wasn't as good as others, the quantity was still far greater than the other. Everyone stopped talking. Who was the one who said to go out and practice? Whoever doesn't go is a grandson. The belligerent Zhu Ziden waved his hand and was about to make a move. Fighting with people from Swallow Dock, was there something wrong with these people's brains? The younger brothers of both sides were busy fighting, but the leaders of both sides were still looking at each other with deep affection. General Xing looked at Fang Yan and said, I have no enmity, I just want to make friends. Not everyone is qualified to be my friend. I think so too. Fang Yan said. Everyone is qualified to be my friend, but most people didn't pass the test. When I make friends, I don't care about age or gender, I don't care about status or wealth, I only care about personality. When I make friends, I only care about congeniality. Some people make friends based on congeniality. The difference between the two is quite big. So, I belong to the group that didn't pass the test. General Xing asked with a smile. How could that be? Fang Yan shook his head and said, I didn't take the test at all. Everyone was silent. Fang Yan's words were too hurtful. Ordinary people still had a chance to take the test, but the young master of the general family, General Xing, didn't even have a chance to take the test. Even General Xing, who had a good temper, couldn't take it anymore. The smile on his face gradually disappeared, and he looked at Fang Yan with a gloomy expression. Everyone knew that as long as Jiang Junling gave the order, the bodyguards behind them would rush over and drag Fang Yan out of the venue. However, General Xing didn't do that. He looked at Fang Yan with sharp eyes and said, You are full of hostility towards me. Young Master General, why aren't you? Fang Yan said with a smile. You are a successful person, a respectable person, a gentleman and a gentleman. You are good at digging a hole with a smile, good at stabbing a knife in the dark, and good at killing your opponent with a smile. I'm just a nobody. I don't have a strong family background, and I don't have a fortune that can rival a country's. I can't bring 8 or 10 bodyguards with me when I go out. I'm my own driver. I'm even able to stand here and participate in this famous charity gathering because of my friend's brother. I'm not dignified enough, but I'm real enough. I am not a gentleman, so I can be frank and direct. I don't have a gentleman's grace. Whoever dares to bully me, I will directly slap them back. Young Master General, those who can stand here are not idiots. Fang Yan looked at General Xing and said, Everyone knows that we can't be friends. Whether it is because of your background or because Jiang Junling is your brother, you can't treat me as a friend. However, I don't want to be a prop. A puppet used to smear your brother's name and damage his character and reputation. Because of what you said, I will fight with him to the death, and you will reap the benefits. So, forgive me for being more direct. Whether you can compete with your brother or not is a matter between you brothers. It has nothing to do with me. Chapter 364. You're courting death. Li Guoqiang shouted angrily. Several black-clothed bodyguards behind him immediately rushed over and surrounded Fang Yen and his friend. Clang, clang, clang. The black-clothed bodyguards moved nimbly and stood in position quickly. They only needed one order and they would attack together. The hot-blooded teenagers of Swallow Dock were not to be outdone. They set up their carriages and horses, ready to fight. Swords were drawn. Whether it was General Xing or Fang Yen, they only needed to make a gesture or give a simple order, and the two sides would fight together. The onlookers retreated to avoid being involved. The security guards of the Maple Leaf Club rushed to the scene. Seeing that the leader of the trouble was General Xing, they hesitated whether to stop them now or to stop them when they really started fighting. Or should they wait for General Xing to beat them up first and then clean up the mess? General Xing stared at Fang Yen for a long time. His dignified expression turned cloudy, then he shook his head and said with a smile, "It seems that you have a deep misunderstanding of us. We, the Jiang brothers, are not as petty as you think. My brother and I are not as indifferent as you think. Today we are gathered here to participate in a charity auction that is about to start, to help the people who are suffering from the disaster in Guangnan. Since it started because of my kindness, then let it end here. What I want to say is that I really have no malice." General Xing glanced at Fang Yen and said, "See you in a while." He took the lead to turn around and walked in the original direction. Li Guoqiang and others glared at Fang Yen fiercely and followed him to leave. The other guests felt that their breathing was smooth. They clinked their glasses and drank again, chatted and laughed, and followed behind General Xing to the main venue. Li Guoqiang walked beside General Xing and whispered, "Are we just going to let it go? It's not good for us to make trouble." General Xing said with a smile, "Have you forgotten our original plan? It's fine if we can't steal the chicken, but we can't help to scatter the rice for the chicken. We can't do such a stupid thing. We will be laughed at." "I really don't want to," Li Guoqiang said in a low voice full of anger. In Yanjing City, they had never been bullied like this. "This isn't the only thing that I'm unwilling to accept," General Xing said calmly. "However, after this incident, they have become lone guests in this banquet, right? Everyone will more or less give the Jiang family some face." General Hang was right. Anyone who offended the Jiang brothers wouldn't be welcomed at any gathering. With so many people seeing Fang Yen arguing with General Xing, who would be willing to come into contact with him? Other than the few brothers he brought with him, no one else would come into contact with them, right? The crowd around them was surging, but no one was willing to exchange greetings or even a friendly look with you. This kind of gathering was really a test of a person's endurance and self-esteem. The area where Fang Yen was located had become a Shura hell, and everyone kept a respectful distance from him. Fang Yen and the others took the initiative to walk towards a certain area. The person who was originally standing there immediately pretended to casually walk away. Fang Yen and the others were speechless. They just wanted to walk over to get some food. They didn't want to talk to them. Did they have to be so obvious? "Looks like we're not welcome here," Yi Fengxing said with a bitter smile. "Fang Yen, you're a star of disaster. Wherever you go, you attract the arrival of the god of disaster. We just wanted to see Lu Qi. How did we end up like this?" "You can't blame me this time, right?" Fang Yen said. "It was clearly you who had a conflict with that guy called Jiang Pingji. What happened between the two of us isn't even a problem," Yi Fengxing said impatiently. "Someone like General Xing would cause trouble for me because of a small matter with Jiang Pingji? It's obvious that he came for you." Fang Yen smiled awkwardly and said, "You guys also know that I had a small conflict with his brother. It's understandable that he came to look for trouble. However, I can see that he didn't come to support his brother. It's more like he came to stab his brother in the chest. Wang Kaixian curled his lips and said, "These rich families only have such a small matter, and they still pretend to be hypocrites who stand aloof from worldly affairs." Lu Qian looked at the surrounding crowd and asked, "Are we going to continue wandering around here? Although I really want to see Lu Qi, I don't want to see them rolling their eyes at me." "Why not?" Zhu Zaidan said. "If we leave, won't we let General Xing and the others have their way? The more they dislike us, the more we have to show off in front of them. Otherwise, others will think that we're afraid of them. When have the men of Swallow Dock been afraid of anyone?" "Zaidan is right. We can't leave. If we leave, we'll lose," Yi Fengxing said in agreement. "Anyway, Fang Yan has already bullied his brother, so let's bully his brother as well. We have to treat everyone equally and be fair." "Fang Yan." A sweet voice suddenly sounded. Fang Yan turned around and saw Xia Xia, who was wearing a long white dress, leisurely walking towards them. Yi Fengxing's eyes widened as he stared at Xia Xia and asked, "Fang Yan, do you know her?" Pil King Zhu Zi and the others also looked at Xia Xia, who was walking towards them, with faces full of astonishment. They didn't understand how Fang Yan could be related to the national goddess, and from the looks of it, their relationship seemed to be very close. Xia Xia quickly walked in front of Fang Yan, her eyes curved into a smile, and said, "Why are you here?" "I heard that there's going to be a charity auction here, so my friends and I wanted to come and make a contribution to the people affected by the disaster," Fang Yan said. Xia Xia smiled even more happily and said, "In any case, I won't believe you no matter what you say. However, if I knew you were coming, I would have pulled you along with me. When I got off the car just now, I didn't even have a male companion by my side. How embarrassing." The national goddess said that she doesn't have a male companion. "I don't believe such words either," Fang Yan said. In a situation where he was being ignored everywhere, suddenly having such a big star come over to chat and joke with him made Fang Yan feel the warmth of spring. No wonder everyone called her Xia Xia goddess. At this moment, Xia Xia really became golden and beautiful in Fang Yan's heart. The arrival of Xia Xia caused a commotion in the venue. The most low-key national goddess was extremely popular even in the circle of the rich and famous. Moreover, Xia Xia's background was also not simple. When many people saw her appear at the elevator, they wanted to go up and greet her and exchange a few pleasantries. What was shocking was that Xia Xia completely ignored the strange or expectant gazes of others and walked straight to Fang Yan, who had been rejected or ignored by them. It seemed that they got along very well. "What's going on? Why is Xia Xia so close to that kid? She must not know what happened in the summer. Should we go and inform her? It wouldn't be good for a kind woman like Xia Xia to be used by others. Those brats were really sinister. Where did they come from? These guys are really interesting. Some people like him, some people hate him, but there's no way to ignore them." Fang Yan naturally felt the strange gazes around him. He also understood the worries of the people around him about Xia Xia. He smiled and said, "Just now I had some unhappiness with a guy called General Xing, and then we became unwelcome people here. No matter where we went, the place would immediately be cleared because of our arrival. I bet there are a lot of people who are worried that you will offend General Xing because you are standing with us. Do you want to go over and greet them first? Maybe they have something important to say to you." Xia Xia frowned slightly, glanced around and asked, "Why did you clash with General Xing? You know him too?" Fang Yan smiled and said, "Looks like he's quite famous. General Xing is famous because he has an even more famous younger brother. Of course, he himself often becomes a topic of conversation." Xia Ji calmly explained, looked at Fang Yan and said, "I'm talking and drinking with my friends. What kind of offense is this? Who made the rule that everyone in the world has to be friends with the men of the general family?" Yi Fengxing gave Xia Xia a thumbs up and said, "These words are righteous." Zhu Ziden and the others finally had the chance to strike up a conversation with the goddess. They all gathered around and praised Xia Xia as a peerless goddess who was rare in the heavens and unparalleled on the earth. Fang Yan introduced his friends to Xia Xia, and Xia Xia also shook hands with Yi Fengxing and the others one by one. Dignified, generous, and frank. Xia Xia looked at Fang Yan and said, "Then what plans do you have now? Preparing to leave early?" "That's what I thought," Fang Yan said with a smile, "but they think that if they leave, they will admit defeat to General Xing. If they don't want to admit defeat, then we can only continue to shamelessly stay. Then I'll accompany you in." Xia said, "I'm going to sing in a while. But I didn't come here tonight to sing by myself." "For the music fanatic?" Fang Yan asked. "Yes, it's for the music fanatic," Xia Xia said with a face full of anticipation. "The lingering sound lingers for 3 days. In the past, I always thought that it was impossible for there to be such music in this world. The person who said this must be a liar or an exaggerator. Now I understand that I am ignorant and inexperienced. It turns out that there really is such a strange person in this world, and there really is such music. Since you're here tonight, you must enjoy yourself." Under Xia Xia's lead, Fang Yan and his companions walked into the depths of the crowd. Countless people took the initiative to greet Xia Xia, and some hardcore fans pulled Xia Xia to whisper some whispers. Xia Xia smiled and thanked them, but did not alienate them. She still led Fang Yan and the others around. The so-called rumors, the so-called gossip, were just people worrying about nothing. Xia Xia was calm and composed, the clouds were light and the wind was light. Chapter 365. A guy who became successful by selling successful studies once said that a millionaire's friends were all millionaires, and a multimillionaire's friends were all multimillionaires. Fang Yan felt that this sentence was bullshit. For example, he had 1 billion strings of coins on his waist, and he was a very rich person. Ruan Qian, this pretty boy, probably wouldn't even have 1 million even if he searched his entire body. The others also didn't have that much money, but this didn't affect the deep friendship between them at all. However, Fang Yan still clearly felt that there were circles between people. At this moment, at this place, the people who gathered together in groups of 3 to 5 formed small circles. These circles were closely connected, and there was me in you and you in me. What was worse was that Fang Yan didn't belong to any of these circles. Well, if this circle had to be defined, it could only be Swallow Dock Teen Idol Group. They all came from Swallow Dock, a great and glorious yet low-key place. Many people present didn't even know that there would be such a small village on the map, and that there would be such a tribe. The only comforting thing was that the heavenly queen, Summer, was always by their side. Even if countless people took the initiative to greet and toast her, there were even more people who tried to pull her into other circles to prevent her from getting too close to Fang Yan and offending the men of the general family. However, Summer was like a beautiful ginkgo tree, unperturbed by the wind and unafraid of the thunder. She stretched out her beautiful branches and deeply rooted herself in the soil where Fang Yan was. In Yi Fengxing's words, this girl was really a real man. Summer was the most dazzling star tonight, and her every move was the focus of everyone's attention. Because of Summer's existence, Fang Yan and the others were always under the illumination of a 10 million watt light bulb. General Xing naturally discovered Summer's existence, and someone had already reported her provocative behavior to him. "Why don't I go have a drink with her?" Li Guochang squinted his eyes as he sized up Summer and said aloud. General Xing waved his hand and said, "This kind of thing can't be forced. It's not a big deal to socialize with friends." Li Guochang stopped talking and started to chat with the people around him. This was indeed a high-standard charity banquet. Countless celebrities had gathered here. Ma Tian, who had just become the richest man in Huaxia because his e-commerce website was listed in the United States, Pan Shirtu, the real estate magnate, the chairman of Hua Tian Entertainment, and some business and entertainment celebrities that Fang Yen found familiar but couldn't name. Bruce Lee also came. Bruce Lee was older than Fang Yen and the others. During the summer vacation, Bruce Lee brought his girlfriend back to Swallow Dock to play. Fang Yen, Yi Fengxing and the others even had a water fight naked in Shihizi. They didn't have much in common and didn't have many opportunities to interact with each other. However, they were all children who grew up in Swallow Dock, so at least they were familiar with each other. Bruce Lee came with his friends. There were 3 middle-aged men about his age. They were talking and laughing behind him. They seemed to be having a good time. However, the one walking in front of them was a young man who was much younger than them. This young man looked to be about the same age as Fang Yen and the others. Fang Yen and Bruce Lee stood up to greet him. This was the proper etiquette. Bruce Lee had a square face and thick eyebrows. He looked very dignified. He looked at Li Xiaotian and asked, "Your breath reeks of alcohol. You didn't drive, did you?" "Not much. Less than 2 pounds per person." Bruce Lee smiled and said, "I didn't dare to drive. I got a driver to send us here." Bruce Lee nodded and turned to look at Fang Yen. He said with a smile, "I heard you broke through again?" "I don't know if it's good or bad," Fang Yen said in distress. "There's no one to lead the way. I can only find my own way." "It's always a good thing," Bruce Lee said with a smile. "But there's a balance between work and rest. Let's have fun tonight. If you need anything, just come to me. As your big brother, I have to take care of you in Yanjing City. I don't want to hear your gossip when I get back." "Thank you. I'll definitely trouble Brother Xiaolong if there's anything." Fang Yen thanked Bruce Lee for taking care of them. "Bruce Lee, are these your friends?" The young man who came with Bruce Lee stared at Fang Yen and the others and asked curiously. "Young Master Qin, they're the children of my neighbors. They're my younger brothers." Bruce Lee originally didn't want to introduce Fang Yen and the others to his friends. They weren't in the same circle anyway. There was no point in introducing them. But since young Master Qin took the initiative to ask, he had to stand up and introduce them. Bruce Lee pointed at Li Xiaotian and said, "My younger brother, Li Xiaotian. Xiaotian, this is Qin Xiaofeng. You can call him young Master Qin too." "Hello, young Master Qin." Li Xiaotian smiled and greeted Qin Xiaofeng. He could tell that his brother cared a lot about Qin Xiaofeng's attitude. Qin Xiaofeng nodded. They got to know each other. Bruce Lee pointed at Fang Yen and said, "Fang Yen, Fang as in square and upright, Yen as in Yanwang, he's a teacher in Huaqing. This is Zhu Zaidan." Wait. Qin Xiaofeng, who had snow-white skin and delicate features, waved his hand and said. He stared at Fang Yen and said, "Fang Yen? Huaqing's teacher, Fang Yen?" Fang Yen looked at him warily and didn't answer his question. He thought, where did this brat jump out from? Let's hear what he has to say first. If he's my enemy, I'll point at General Xing and say he's Fang Yen. If he's my admirer and also point at General Xing and say he's Fang Yen, then they might start fighting. How nice. Bruce Lee looked at Fang Yen in surprise and thought, how did this brat get so famous? Even young Master Qin knows his name and background? You're looking for Fang Yen? Yi Fengxing also stared at Qin Xiaofeng cautiously and asked. Fang Yen had too many enemies. As his brothers, they had to be on guard to not get ambushed. I'm not looking for him. But I've heard of him. Qin Xiaofeng laughed and said, Awesome. Awesome person. In Yanjing City, General Ling was as arrogant as the King of Heaven, not putting anyone in his eyes. But when he went to Huaqing, a layer of skin was scraped off his face. It's said that the guy who scraped off his face was called Fang Yen, a teacher in Huaqing. Brother, don't tell me that Fang Yen is you? Fang Yen felt very conflicted. When faced with honor, should he accept it or reject it? That's him. Yi Fengxing said proudly, he's that Fang Yen. To Yi Fengxing, his brother's honor was his honor. He was very proud now. Ha 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 ha, it's really you, Qin Xiaofeng laughed. As he laughed, his face darkened and said, I see General Xing all right, let's not stand with this guy, lest those petty people from the Jiang family bear a grudge. Then, he turned around and walked toward where General Xing was standing. As soon as Qin Xiaofeng left, the middle-aged people who were chatting with Bruce Lee also left. A hint of panic flashed in Bruce Lee's eyes. He looked at Fang Yan and asked, Do you have a conflict with Jiang Junling? Something unpleasant happened, Fang Yan said frankly. This kind of thing couldn't be hidden even if he wanted to. He just couldn't understand. The conflict between him and Jiang Junling was very hidden. Only those people in Huaqing knew about it. How did it spread to Yanjing? Fang Yan wouldn't believe that there wasn't a murderer behind the scenes. But which family did this? If he and Jiang Junling had a conflict, who would benefit the most? The Jiang family? Their family was the most likely. After all, the four families of Huaqing, the Lu family and the Gu family had formed an alliance with him because of the Rubik's Cube technology. Only the Jiang family's ambition didn't die. They actually held onto the thigh of the Jiang family, and the two families seemed to be connected by marriage. However, if this news was really released by the Jiang family, weren't they afraid of offending Jiang Junling, the most promising person in the Jiang family? Among these rumors, Jiang Junling's reputation was the most severely damaged. He had incurred a lot of hatred because of these rumors, but he had also established a lot of prestige. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to provoke a man who even Jiang Junling bullied to the point of crying, right? Fang Yan looked at Bruce Lee and said, Brother Xiaolong, I'm really sorry to have caused you trouble. Bruce Lee was different from Yi Fengxing and Li Xiaotian. Yi Fengxing and Li Xiaotian were idle in Swallow Dock. They had food and drink, so they didn't need to flatter anyone or please anyone. However, Bruce Lee was the business representative of the Li family. He needed connections, a circle, someone to help him speak, someone to help him raise money, and someone to help him clear up connections. All roads lead to Rome. If someone closed the gates of Rome, you wouldn't be able to enter the city even if you had 10,000 road. His friends, who had called him brothers just now, immediately turned and left when they heard that Fang Yan and Jiang Junling had a conflict. This was profit, this was reality. Bruce Lee sighed softly and said, This has nothing to do with you. A middle-aged man couldn't bear to see him like this. He turned and walked to Bruce Lee and said, Xiaolong, we are businessmen. We have to take care of our fellow countrymen, but we also have to take care of the big picture. Let's go and sit with young Master Jiang. You can say that you don't know anything. This matter has nothing to do with you anyway. Bruce Lee hesitated for a moment and said, Brother Ho, thank you for the reminder. However, these are my younger brothers. I can't abandon them. The man sighed and turned to leave. Qin Xiaofeng pointed at Bruce Lee and laughed, saying, Bruce Lee, don't be reckless. That kid is a troublemaker. Do you know how deep the conflict between him and Jiang Junling is? Do you think it can be resolved by saying sorry and setting up a banquet? Childish. Qin Xiaofeng, who has a conflict with my brother again? A woman's dissatisfied voice came over. Another group of young people in bright clothes came over, led by Jiang Junling, who wore glasses and had a gentle smile on his face. The smile on Fang Yan's face was like a dried chrysanthemum. Tonight's banquet was really getting more and more lively. Chapter 366. Jiang Junling was very low-key, but when he arrived, he was not low-key at all. If one were to say that when the general walked over, he was like a magnet that automatically attracted the people around him to pay their respects, then Jiang Junling was like a large piece of blooming rape flower field. Not only the small bees nearby rushed towards him, but also the bees in the distance rushed towards Jiang Junling in groups. Magnets could only affect some metal objects at close range, but the flower field could affect the bees in the entire nature. As an elder brother, such a sharp contrast really made people feel very uncomfortable. The vast starry sky and earth automatically formed a human wall, and the human wall arrow went straight towards Jiang Junling. Everyone inside the human wall felt that they were doing it very casually and secretly, but from the perspective of a bystander, Fang Yen felt that their actions were really like a group of sneaky thieves. Jiang Junling was surrounded by a larger crowd, and even the eyes of the people around him were all blocked. Fang Yen and his friends once again became outsiders. What was gratifying was that Summer had been standing by his side, never leaving. Fang Yan's friends really liked Summer, and there were even people who secretly asked Fang Yan if Summer was his girlfriend or if Summer had a boyfriend. Qin Xiaofeng breathed a sigh of relief and made a bye-bye gesture to Fang Yan, indicating that Fang Yan should quickly get lost before Jiang Junling had time to deal with him. It had to be said that this action was very rude, but he was indeed thinking for Fang Yan's sake. Fang Yan smiled and shook his head. Qin Xiaofeng sneered and no longer paid attention to him. "Are you envious?" asked Summer, who was holding a glass of red wine. Her long hair was scattered over her shoulders, and the ends of her hair were slightly curled, forming a beautiful arc. Her shoulders were slightly exposed, and the large snow-white chest was dazzling. She used a perfume that Fang Yen did not know. That smell was very light, but also distant. It was as if he was going to bring people into his dreams at any time. After a pause, he continued, "Every man wants to stand in that position, right? Maybe you'll think I'm hypocritical if I say this," Fang Yen said. "I don't envy you at all. I wasn't like him, and I wasn't like most men either. What they wanted was to sit on the throne of the world and lie on the knees of beautiful women. No matter where I go, I'll be the center of attention. I don't want to live such a life. Pretend. Tired. I just want to be a quiet teacher and pass on my life's knowledge to my lovely students." He didn't ask for a good life, but he didn't want to waste his time with them. In his spare time, he would read a few poetry collections, write a few calligraphy pieces, sit by the window and listen to the rain, or go to a tea-house to get drunk. He would marry a wife who was not very beautiful. Of course, she could also be very beautiful and give birth to a few clever children. "I feel like my life is complete. This is the life I want." Xia Chen was sluggish for a long time, then he let out a weak sigh and said, "Although I know what you said is false, I still feel that this kind of life is very beautiful. It's very exciting." Yi Fengxing glanced at Fang Yen and said, "I think you might as well sit on the throne of the world and lie on the knees of beautiful women. Looking at you pretending like this, I feel tired." In front of beautiful women, there were many cases of brothers stabbing each other. This was the case all over the world. "You don't understand." Fang Yen had a sad look on his face, as if it was hard to find a confidant in the world. "You don't understand." Jiang Junling was very gentlemanly. More and more people came to greet him, and they would also take the initiative to greet some elders or important people. The crowd would eventually disperse. When Jiang Junling's group of people once again appeared in Fang Yan's field of vision, Fang Yan knew that his misfortune was coming again. What was surprising was that those people didn't even look at him. Even Jiang Junling didn't look at him, as if he had never seen this person's existence. The person who had just scolded Qin Xiaofeng was a girl with short hair. In this kind of situation, she walked alone in jeans and a white shirt. She looked young and fashionable, but at the same time, she didn't fit in with the rest of the crowd. However, everyone treated her as a child, and no one was too picky about her clothes. Jiang Rong strode in front of Qin Xiaofeng, who was hiding behind the stone corridor, and pulled him out, shouting, "Qin Xiaofeng, tell me clearly, who does my brother have a grudge with?" "No grudge, no grudge." Qin Xiaofeng's heart was full of bitterness. He just wanted to distance himself from Fang Yan with a few words of gossip. How did the petty Jiang family hear it? "I'm talking about conflict. It's just a little conflict. Who has a conflict with my brother? How come I didn't know about this?" Jiang Rong clearly didn't want to stop here, and continued to pursue. I only heard about it, Qin Xiaofeng said. I heard that when second brother was in Flower City, he had some conflict with a guy called Fang Yen. You know that I have a loose tongue, and I like to talk nonsense when I hear something. Usually, when he hears something, he likes to talk nonsense. Maybe there's no such thing. Of course there's no such thing, Jiang Rong said. Who is Fang Yen? Never heard of him. Never heard of him. These 4 words expressed the Jiang family's attitude towards the conflict between the Jiang family Ling and Fang Yen. Never heard of this, never heard of a person called Fang Yen. How could a small character like Fang Yen be placed together with Jiang Junling? The greatest humiliation was being ignored. Qin Xiaofeng glanced at where Fang Yen was standing and said, "Good that you haven't heard of him." "I haven't heard of him either. He's probably some small character that's not famous. I think those rumors are fake. Who can be a match for a genius like second young master?" "Humph, good that you know," Jiang Rong said coldly. "Qin Xiaofeng, watch your mouth or I'll tear it apart." "That won't do," Qin Xiaofeng said with a smile. "How can I drink and pick up girls if I tear it apart? I'll rely on this face and this mouth to make a living." Jiang Rong finally saw Fang Yen, or rather, she glanced at where Fang Yen was standing. Then, she frowned and asked, "Who are they? How come I've never seen them before?" This question was difficult for Qin Xiaofeng to answer. He had just said that he hadn't heard of Fang Yen, so he naturally didn't know him. If he didn't know him, then how could he explain the fact that Fang Yen was standing here? "Who brought them?" Jiang Rong asked. Bruce Lee's face was livid, but he still walked out of the crowd and said, "I brought them. Fang Yen and Li Xiaotian didn't receive an invitation to the banquet. He did bring them in through his connections. This kind of thing couldn't be hidden. If they were found out, it would be more embarrassing. It was better to stand up and bear the responsibility himself." Jiang Rong looked at Bruce Lee, looked him up and down with a very sharp and mature look, and asked, "Who are you?" Bruce Lee replied. "Oh." Jiang Rong laughed. "The Bruce Lee who has the same name as the international superstar. I've heard of you. I heard that your kung fu is very good, and your character is also very good. But, who are those people you brought? They shouldn't have received an invitation from the organizer, right? You brought such an unknown person in. If anything happens, are you going to be responsible for it? Can you bear the responsibility?" "They are all my friends, my younger brothers. I can promise." "No one wants to listen to your promise." Jiang Rong interrupted Bruce Lee's words and said, "After it happens, any guarantee is useless. If something happens to young Master Qin Xiaofeng, or if he is injured by your friends, how will you compensate him? What's the use of your promise at that time?" "What do you mean?" Bruce Lee clenched and loosened his fists, trying to keep his expression gentle and calm. He knew that he couldn't be angry. Once he was angry, things would be more difficult later. "What meaning can I have? The key is still your own idea. Correct your own mistakes, clean up your own mess. You brought people who were not invited into the club, which is not in line with the rules of the banquet. And these people may be aggressive." Chapter 367. Bruce Lee had a splitting headache, as if he was being roasted by fire. He had never thought that a casual decision would have such a profound impact on his entire life. He knew that these people's target was Fang Yen. He only needed to stand up and say that he had nothing to do with Fang Yen. He didn't understand how Fang Yen came in. Then, he didn't need to do anything. Fang Yen would be politely asked to leave by the club's security. But what if he did that? Where would the spirit of Swallow Dock be? Where would his reputation be? Where would his own spirit and reputation be? When he returned to Swallow Dock, he would be criticized by the elders in the village, and the teacher would use his shovel to beat his head. However, if he didn't accept the Jiang family's suggestion and insisted on standing on Fang Yan's side, it would be difficult for him to do anything in Yanjing City in the future. All the achievements he had made in Yanjing City and the connections he had built would collapse. All his efforts and achievements over the years would vanish, because they had offended the Jiang family, which no one wanted to offend. Perhaps some people would care about their friendship with him, but they cared more about the living conditions of the family. This was the law of business, both real and realistic. Besides, even if he stood up to protect Fang Yan and told everyone here that he brought Fang Yan in, would he be able to protect him? Fang Yan didn't receive an invitation. He knew that, and many people here knew it. The person who helped to smooth things over also knew it. As long as the Jiang family was willing, they could even drive Fang Yan and himself out together. Bruce Lee alone couldn't protect Fang Yan. The reason why the Jiang family didn't directly go to the club to deal with this matter was not to save Bruce Lee's face. They didn't care about Bruce Lee's face. They let Bruce Lee deal with this matter because they wanted him to make a choice between standing on the side or sacrificing himself, choosing to sacrifice Fang Yan or everything he had. More importantly, Fang Yan was driven out by his own people. This kind of humiliation was much more serious than being pushed out by the Jiang family. If Fang Yan was chased away by a single sentence from the general family, he would never be able to raise his head in this particular circle for a very long time. Everyone was looking at Bruce Lee. Everyone was waiting for him to make a decision. It was a decision that would change the lives of Fang Yan and Bruce Lee. At least, that was what they thought. What's the big deal? Someone sneered. Fang Yan strode toward Jiang Junling. When he passed by Bruce Lee, he gratefully patted him on the shoulder and said guiltily, "Brother Xiaolong, I'm really sorry for making things difficult for you today." Jiang Yirong was about to speak, but found that Fang Yan had already walked past her. He wasn't interested in talking to her. He didn't even look at her. Jiang Yirong gritted his teeth and sneered. "You're courting death. There was no one to blame. Bruce Lee, don't learn from this idiot." Fang Yan stood in front of Jiang Junling. The bodyguards behind him wanted to make a move, but Jiang Junling waved his hand to stop them. In this place, Fang Yan didn't dare to make a move. Even if Fang Yan touched a strand of his hair, he had a way to throw Fang Yan into prison and make him spend the rest of his life in prison. Bao Shi, the Xingyi Grand Master who had fought with Fang Yan in Huaqing, stood behind Jiang Junling and looked at Fang Yan with a playful look. The hanged ghost fisherman, who had an old relationship with Fang Yan's grandfather Fang Huwei, also stood behind Jiang Junling. He wore sunglasses and looked around. No one knew what he was thinking. There were also two strange-looking men staring at Fang Yan with inquiring or fanatical eyes. They had all heard about the battle between Fang Yan and Bao Shi in Huaqing, and were very curious about the young warrior Fang Yan. If it weren't for their status, they would have stood up and challenged Fang Yan. Fang Yan was surprised and thought that it was logical. The tigress in camouflage clothes stood next to Jiang Junling. She seemed to have a high status. When she saw Fang Yan looking at her, she took the initiative to greet Fang Yan and said, "Little handsome, we meet again." I said, "Don't forget my name. You won't disappoint me, will you?" "Miss Tigress." Fang Yan greeted the tigress gracefully and said with a smile, "How can I forget such a charming lady? You have a sweet mouth. I didn't dote on you for nothing." The tigress giggled and said, her chest heaving up and down. It was very eye-catching. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Junling with gentle eyes and a calm expression and said, "I apologize to you." The audience was in an uproar. Everyone looked at Fang Yan in shock. Some were laughing, some were mocking him, but most of them looked like they were deep in thought or understood. This idiot finally can't bear the pressure, right? Fighting with the generals, he doesn't even know who he is. A country bumpkin is a country bumpkin. Jiang Junling didn't say a word, and a random kid can make Fang Yan stand up and apologize to him. Jiang Junling really lives up to his reputation. Apologizing is what a smart person does. What can that kid do if he doesn't admit defeat? Ask for money? He doesn't. Ask for people? He doesn't either. What right did he have to fight against the general order? Jiang Junling doesn't need to do anything. His people can take care of things properly. There was a lot of discussion below the stage, but the little fellows of Swallow Dock looked at Jiang Junling with a strange expression, as if they were looking forward to the start of a big show. Jiang Junling adjusted his glasses and looked at Fang Yen thoughtfully. When Fang Yen walked towards him, he calculated in his mind 3 choices and 19 ways to start, but he didn't expect it to be this one. Isn't this guy very unyielding? I apologize to you, Fang Yen said aloud again. Just like the rumors in Beijing, we did have some unpleasantness in Huaqing. You tried to plot against me, but I bullied you instead. You found a dog to stir up trouble, and I beat the dog until it lay on the ground and couldn't get up. Fang Yen pointed to Xing Yi Grandmaster Bao Shi behind Jiang Junling and said, Bao Shi, the king of Xing Yi. You asked him to challenge you, and he's very strong. He made me use a lot of force, but I still knocked him out. Wow! Shocked voices came from the venue again. Many people knew that there were many martial arts masters around Jiang Junling. These people were very strong and could fight against 100. Especially those who he brought with him to various large gatherings, they were all grandmasters. Even such masters were knocked out by Fang Yen, so how powerful was Fang Yen? Some people thought of their cold and dismissive attitude towards him just now. If he attacked in anger, it would be difficult for them to resist, right? Bao Shi's face turned purple, and his body trembled with anger. He wanted to fight to the death with Fang Yen on the spot. Too hateful. Too shameless. This is too much. Don't hit people in the face. You're not hitting the face, but the heart. Jiang Junling's face didn't change, and there was even a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Yes, this was the Fang Yen he knew. This was what his old friend, who he missed day and night, should do. He wasn't apologizing, he was provoking. Fang Yen. This time, even Xia couldn't help but stand up to stop Fang Yen. She knew what Jiang Junling represented, and how much power the Jiang family had. She was worried that Fang Yen would act out of loyalty, and that he would face more disasters in the future. She admired the brave, but she was more willing to applaud those who knew when to advance and when to retreat. Fang Yen looked back and patted her on the arm. He said with a smile, "It's okay. Jiang Junling and I are old friends. Some words have to be said face to face. Friends should be honest with each other. I apologize to you." Fang Yen said this for the 3rd time. "Why should I resist? If you want to bully me, I'll let you bully me. If you want to beat me up, I'll let you beat me up. If you want to kill me, I'll let you kill me as long as you leave my body intact. Why should I resist? It doesn't matter if I resist, but I found that Jiang Junling is only SOSO. His wisdom and schemes, which are praised by others, are like child's play. His ace bodyguard, which is envied by others, is also a peerless expert. It turns out that the general's order that everyone fears is a paper tiger. Yes, I should apologize to you. I shouldn't have broken this paper tiger." General Xing couldn't bear it anymore. He jumped out and shouted, "Fang Yen, you don't know what's good for you. We give you face, but you don't want it. When we don't give you face, you won't be able to cry even if you want to." Fang Yen glanced at General Xing and said, "Don't be in a hurry to jump out and show off. You're the happiest person here, aren't you? You've been secretly setting up your brother again and again. Jiang Junling is such a smart guy. Doesn't he know? He's just pretending to be stupid. When he suddenly becomes serious with you, you'll know how stupid what you've done before is. If you don't have the wisdom of Zhuge Liang, don't pretend to be a hermit." Slander. General Xing's face was frighteningly gloomy. Fang Yan's eyes turned back to Jiang Junling's face and said, Yes, you have money, power, and connections. Yanjing is your home ground, Huaxia is your home ground, the whole world is your home ground. I admit that I don't have as much money as you, power as you, and connections as you. I'm a small character, and you're a big character. No matter where you are, you have all the advantages. But I must resist. I have no choice but to resist, Fang Yen said in a long-winded manner. He was patiently explaining one thing, although such an explanation would only cause more misunderstanding and hatred. I'm my mother's son. My mother only has me. If I'm bullied, she'll be unhappy. If I'm beaten, she'll be very sad. If I'm killed, she'll want to die. I don't want my mother to worry about me. I can't let my mother be disappointed in me. Whose parents won't worry if their child is bullied outside? Chapter 368. The banquet for hundreds of VIPs, waiters and bodyguards turned out to be a performance venue for Fang Yen alone. Fang Yen stood tall and straight in front of General Xing. The two equally outstanding young heroes stood face to face. One was gentle and noble, making people feel as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. The other was delicate and arrogant, as if he was going to poke a hole in the sky. There were also many outstanding young people present, including General Xing, Jiang Junling's brother, Qin Shaofeng of the Qin family, Jia Yilan, the famous genius painter of the Jia family, Xia Tian, and several other super newcomers in the entertainment circle. They were all more famous than Fang Yen. No matter where they appeared, they were more dazzling than Fang Yen. However, at this time and place, this was the battlefield of two people, the battlefield of Fang Yen and Jiang Junling. One was the sun, one was the moon, one was the thunder, one was the spring rain, one was the white tiger, and one was the divine dragon. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two of them, and everyone's minds were deeply attracted by them. In front of them, everyone else was overshadowed and not worth mentioning. Fang Yen was very calm, so calm that people who were familiar with him felt that his performance was very strange. Jiang Junling was also very calm. He was very curious about Fang Yan's trump card to compete with him. Courage and hot blood? What a stupid thing that was. Fang Yan's voice rang through the whole room. He said, I don't want to resist, but I really can't. I've not been a good boy since I was a child. There is a factor in my blood that refuses to admit defeat. When others scold me, I scold them back. When others slap me, I slap them a few times. I don't take advantage of others, and I don't want to be at a disadvantage. This is not a good habit, but it's not a bad habit either. There must be something that needs to be insisted on, right? Whether in the eyes of my mother or in my eyes, I don't think that you are nobler than me. You are just a little richer than me. Being rich is capital, but it is not a reason for you to bully me. So, there was a strange smile on Fang Yan's face. It was neither happy nor sad. It was more like a comfort after venting. Yes, this was venting. He vented his anger reasonably. He didn't want to provoke anyone, he just didn't want to be a puppet at the mercy of others. He didn't want to kill or see blood, but he didn't want to be killed, and he didn't want to shed blood. Humiliation after humiliation, plotting against after plotting against. It was impossible to guard against an open spear and a hidden arrow. Fang Yen was really tired. Fang Yen was really annoyed. Fang Yen was really angry. Don't hesitate to fight. Unafraid of death. This was a declaration, but also a warning. These 8 words were powerful and resonant, expressing Fang Yan's attitude and determination in the face of his family's abuse. I don't want to fight, but I don't mind fighting. I don't want to die, but I'm not afraid of death. Pa, pa, pa. Someone applauded. The one who applauded was Jiang Junling. Only he had the right to applaud at this time. He applauded for his opponent. Jiang Junling's applause was not warm, nor was it continuous. Strike after strike, dry, like a soup without seasoning. Jiang Junling habitually adjusted the glasses on the bridge of his nose, squinted at Fang Yen, and said with a smile, "Don't hesitate to fight, not afraid of death. I apologize to you, I have no choice but to resist. Fang Yen, to be honest, I'm starting to like you." Because? Jiang Junling paused for a second, as if he was considering his words. Because you are really different from others. Frank, direct, incisive, full of aggression, and you're still so young. If I could do it again, I would definitely choose to be friends with people like you. Being friends with people like you, I won't feel that life is boring, right? Unfortunately. Unfortunately what? Unfortunately, time can't go back? Unfortunately, we are already enemies? Unfortunately, people like us can never be friends? Jiang Junling didn't finish his words. Instead, he looked at the crowd around him with a smile and said, "I thought this was a private party. I thought the organizers would protect our safety. We are willing to do charity and devote our love to the people affected by the disaster, but we also have to be responsible for our own personal safety. I feel that I am in danger. Do you feel the same? Do you feel the same?" Although Jiang Junling's voice was calm and his smile was gentle, his words contained a fierce, killing intent. "I feel that I am in danger. Do you feel the same? Who dared to say no? Who could say no? If they didn't stand up at this time, if they didn't choose a good side at this time, then they would have no chance to do so in the future." Fortunately, this multiple-choice question was relatively easy. Which side should Jiang Junling and Fang Yen stand on? Did they even need to use their brains to think about this question? "I felt it a long time ago," Li Guoqiang echoed loudly. "Even cats and dogs jumped out to bite people. Isn't this party a failure? That's right. We are here to offer our love. How can some random people come here to make up the numbers? Even people without an invitation can come in. Can beggars from outside also come in? If a club like this can't protect our privacy, how can we be sure that it can protect our safety?" Zhao Qingye, who was behind General Hang, also stood up to support. "The Maple Leaf Club must stand up and give an explanation. Is the organizer responsible for this event? Who let them in? Are you going to hold those people accountable and give us justice?" General Yi Rong's evil eyes glanced at Fang Yen as he shouted in a crisp voice. Sure enough, the situation was one-sided. First, the people brought by Jiang Junling and the General Hang brothers stood up to support Jiang Junling. Then, those who were close to the general family or had business dealings with Jiang Junling stood up to support him. Seeing that the commotion on the other side was getting louder and stronger, even those who were originally in the middle or who were emotionally inclined to Fang Yan's side also made a decision to denounce Fang Yan's existence. The law of the jungle was the iron law of the jungle. The meaning of these people was clear. They wanted to expel Fang Yan. If Fang Yan didn't go out, then the meeting couldn't continue. If the general brothers left, they would probably take a lot of people with them, right? Even if the organizers insisted on holding the charity banquet, it would still be an incomplete banquet, a failure. This wasn't just the power of Jiang Junling alone. This wasn't just the power of the general brothers. This wasn't just the power of the general family. This was the power of Jiang Junling and the general brothers, the general family, and all the dignitaries in the city. Yes, Jiang Junling had only said a few words to make the top group of people in Four Corner City stand against Fang Yan. Their momentum was great, their lineup was strong, they were majestic, they were unstoppable. They could crush everything. This was Jiang Junling. This was Jiang Junling's method. Fang Yan could resist one person, but how could he resist a city? No matter how strong a rabbit was, it was impossible for it to carry a sandbag forward like a camel. The sandbag would break the rabbit's spine, crush the rabbit's skin, flesh, and bones, and squeeze out the rabbit's internal organs. Yes, the hundreds of nobles under the general's command were the sandbags that were pressing down on Fang Yan's body. Fang Yan's expression was cold, and his eyes were as sharp as knives. He clenched his fists tightly. Then, he used the Tai Chi Cleansing Heart Sutra to expel the evil energy that was about to explode in his body. However, the evil energy didn't disappear. Soon, it gathered again. Moreover, it gathered more and more, spinning faster and faster. It actually stimulated the awakening of the heart of Tai Chi. The core of the heart of Tai Chi and the cloud of strong evil energy contended against each other. The heart of Tai Chi frantically shook off the evil energy. Because it was clean, free, and free. The evil energy was too dirty. However, the vitality of this evil energy was extremely tenacious. It was like a rubber ball that was kicked away by the heart of Tai Chi. Then, it quickly rolled back. It was kicked away again and rolled back again. It was kicked away countless times and rolled back countless times. Fang Yen was furious. Fang Yen was furious. Fang Yen felt that his body was about to explode. Fang Yen felt that the heart of Tai Chi was about to melt. When one person oppresses me, I fight back with my energy. When one city oppresses me, I fight back with my life. I don't accept this. Fang Yen stood up straight. His handsome face was like ice, and his eyebrows were like swords. He fearlessly swept his gaze across the crowd and shouted, "If you are the heavens, then let me suffer a disaster. If you are the earth, then bury my body and flesh. If you are the gods, then take away my soul and faith. If you are the king of hell and evil spirits, then let me never reincarnate. I am Fang Yen. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat. I am Yi Fengxing. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat." Yi Fengxing took a step forward and roared. His fat face was purplish red. "I am Zhu Ziden. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat." Zhu Ziden took a step forward and shouted. His eyes were wide open. He looked like he was going to fight with his life on the line. "I am Wang Kaixian. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat." Wang Kaixian tore open his shirt. He felt like his chest was burning with charcoal. "I am Li Xiaotian. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat," Li Xiaotian said with red eyes. He shook his body and his clothes started to flutter. "I am Chen Yanqing. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat." Chen Yanqing, who was in charge of policy research, had a gloomy expression. However, his eyes were filled with determination. "I am Ruan Jing. I am standing here. I will not retreat. I will not retreat." Ruan Jing, who was the youngest and the weakest, also stood up. He used all his strength to support Fang Yen. Fang Yen, Yi Fengxing, Li Xiaotian, Zhu Ziden, Ruan Jing, Chen Yanqing, and Wang Kaixian. These 7 youths from Swallow Dock wanted to use their frail bodies to fight against the entire world. Chapter 369. Qin and Xiao Jiu come to pour laughing at the sky, forgetting laughing at the sky, forgetting everything carefree and light like the wind the surging river can't hold back, full of lofty aspirations and unyielding character. Everyone has done things that are beyond their capabilities. A baby wanted to carry his father's bag, a bad student wanted to get first in school, an A-cup woman wanted to wear D-cup underwear. Fang Yen challenged Jiang Junling, a young man from Swallow Dock challenged a dignitary of Four Corner City. Such a thing was already beyond their capabilities. They understood their situation, but they had no better choice. Fang Yen was a proud person, and he also had an unruly soul. Just like he said, "If you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. If you bully me, I will definitely attack you." Tao is natural, Tai Chi follows the heart. Whether it was natural or following the heart, he needed to stand up when he was oppressed, and he needed to fight back when he was bullied. If you are strong, I will be strong, a tit for tat. If you are weak, I will also be weak, a breeze and a moon. This was the true meaning of the heart of Tai Chi. If he was forced to retreat by the opponent's strength or the general trend, it would go against the true meaning of Tao and Tai Chi. His heart of Tai Chi would be covered with dirt, and he could only stop here. Unless there was a great opportunity, it would be difficult for him to take another step forward. Fang Yen stood up, so the little friends from Swallow Dock all stood up. Just like how they had caught birds together in the bamboo forest countless times, just like how they had hunted rabbits together in the snowy mountains countless times, just like how they had played high up in the sky countless times, just like how they had eaten ambush from all sides countless times, and drank the strongest shadaozi countless times. Together. In their eyes, this incident was no different from the countless times before. The key was that they had to be together. Because they were a group, a whole. They had a funny, vulgar, but sincere team name, Swallow Dock's Pretty Men Team. With Fang Yen in the lead, he was like the spearhead, the sharp arrow, the fangs of a poisonous snake, and the claws of a ferocious tiger. He stood at the forefront and fought against the nobles in the city in the most direct and unyielding manner. Yi Fengxing, Wang Kaixian, Zhu Ziden, Chen Yanqing, Li Xiaotian and Ruan Jing followed half a step behind, standing on either side of Fang Yen. The three of them formed a group and shared Fang Yan's left and right arms. This was a combination of attacks that they often used when fighting with other children in Swallow Dock. Indeed, as long as Fang Yen gave the order, they would charge towards the camp fortress just like they had together countless times before. The battlefield was different, but their people were still the same. Were they stupid? Yi Fengxing usually laughed and scolded without any sense of propriety, but in terms of martial arts, he was one of the best in the younger generation of the Yi clan, only inferior to his cousin Yi Wenro. Otherwise, with his current age, he would have long been kicked out of the Yi clan by the strict upbringing. How could they allow him to be a rice worm doing nothing in Swallow Dock? Zhu Ziden was heroic and magnanimous, giving people a steady and reliable feeling. When Fang Yen was not around, he was the leader of the team. Wang Kaixian was impulsive and loyal, always rushing to the front when there was a problem. But he looked tough on the outside, but was actually very careful on the inside, and was his father's right-hand man. Chen Yanqing worked in the ministry's policy research office, making plans for the prosperity of the country. Li Xiaotian liked to take small advantages, but he was a typical logistical strategist. Before the army moved, the rations and fodder had to be prepared first. He knew how to be meticulous, and could prepare all the complicated logistical work properly. Even Ruan Jing, who had the weakest personality, was actually a teacher in Swallow Dock, a teacher as young as Bai Xiu. It should be known that when Fang Yen wanted to be a teacher in Swallow Dock School, the teacher did not agree. Bravery, fearlessness, unity, loyalty, hot-bloodedness, unyielding, this was the sentiment of the youths of Swallow Dock. This was the spirit of generations after generations of Swallow Dock. Now they did not hide it, and displayed this spirit in a crazy and high-profile manner. Their number was less than 1/10 of that of Jiang Junling's team, and their phalanx formation was negligible. Their combat effectiveness was not worth mentioning in front of the strength of the bodyguards brought by Jiang Junling. But why was it so shocking? Why was it so cautious and vigilant? Bruce Lee only felt that his blood was boiling, and he felt that he had to do something. Although he knew that it would bring him a devastating blow. Clang, clang, clang. Bruce Lee strode to Fang Yan's side, stood side by side with him, and announced to the audience in a deep voice, "I am Bruce Lee, and I am also standing here. I will not retreat, not even a step." When he made this choice, his anxious state of mind suddenly became calm. Although the situation he faced was more dangerous, he knew that this was the path he should take. Confrontation, confrontation, confrontation. Jiang Junling's eyebrows were deeply knitted together. He was really provoked by Fang Yen. This was also the first time that many people had seen such an angry expression on Jiang Junling's face. Jiang Junling looked coldly at Fang Yan and asked aloud, "What do you want to prove by doing this?" Without waiting for Fang Yan to answer, Jiang Junling continued to say, "Prove that you are a man with backbone and courage. Prove that you are a man who will not easily give in to others. Prove that you are a man with several good friends and brothers. But what can this change?" Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yan with an exploratory gaze and said, "What can it change? You really don't have an invitation, and we really feel that there are some elements of insecurity in it. Especially now I feel more and more insecure. I think my friends around me should feel the same as me, right? If you are the heavens, let me bear the disaster of extinction. If you are the earth, bury my body and flesh together. If you are the gods and Buddhas, take away my soul and faith. If you are the evil spirits, let me never be reincarnated. Fang Yan, I have to say that you are a very provocative guy and a very talented guy in speech. Even I, a bystander whom you call an enemy, was ignited by the power of your words. But what I want to tell you is that we are not the heavens, not the earth, not the gods and Buddhas, not evil spirits. We are just kind people who come to this charity banquet and want to make a little contribution to the people in the disaster area. That's all. We are here, we feel the danger, we feel some loopholes in the organization. So, we make some kind suggestions to the organization. Is there anything wrong with this? It is a well-known fact that you don't have an invitation. You entered here without an invitation. You broke the rules first. We don't need to invite you, and the security personnel of the Maple Leaf Society will politely ask you to leave. Of course, I also know that your strength is not weak, and you have even put on a posture of not hesitating to fight. I know that no matter who wants to hurt you, you will beat and injure them, right? If the security personnel can't invite you, there is still the police. Fang Yan, there are rules and laws in this society. You don't obey the rules, but you have to obey the law. Isn't that the case? Jiang Junling adjusted the glasses on the bridge of his nose, looked at the many distinguished guests standing on his side with a smile, and said, "So, I really don't understand, they put on such a posture of marching to war. What are they going to do? I can guarantee that this is definitely not a movie, because the Maple Leaf Society will never allow a crew to come in to film." A general's order was a general's order. The stance that Fang Yan and the others had put up, the momentum that they had created, and the situation that had forced him to the edge of the cliff to fight had been easily destroyed by him. He didn't compete with you in terms of numbers, even though he had more people on his side. He didn't compete with you in terms of connections, even though his connections were stronger. He didn't even compete with you in terms of strength, blood for blood. He only needed to grasp one point, that Fang Yan didn't have an invitation and they entered illegally. He only needed to grasp this point, and that was enough. When it was reasonable, he should reason. Why must he use his fists? This was Jiang Junling's logical thinking, the choice of a smart person. He was Jiang Junling, not those unscrupulous playboys hanging around Yanjing City. Ha, is it because you are used to acting? You want to act everywhere you go? Li Guochang said with a smile. Look at their expressions. It's so funny. It's really funny when they are serious. They look like the performance team of the Shaolin Temple's martial monks, but isn't that fatso in the middle a bit too much of a killjoy? Yi Fengxing, you have to lose weight quickly, or it will affect the overall effect. Jiang Pingji, who had a grudge against Yi Fengxing, felt that he had gotten his revenge, and was in a good mood. The process was a bit complicated, but the ending was perfect, and that was enough. Because of Jiang Junling's words, the situation was reversed once again. Fang Yan's side's imposing manner became like a worm's. In the eyes of Jiang Junling and his group, Fang Yan and his companions were just a group of actors who liked to perform. Xiaozhi frowned, walked in front of Fang Yan, and extended an invitation in front of countless people, saying, "Fang Yan, I'll buy you a drink. Let's go find a place, how about it?" Xiaozhi didn't want Fang Yan to continue fighting with this group of people, because she knew their style of doing things and all kinds of shameless methods. When you reason with them, they use their fists against you. When you use your fists against them, they use the law against you. They have more resources than you, and the means they can use are also richer. Xiaozhi didn't fear Jiang Junling, but she also couldn't easily become enemies with him. Because this wasn't just her own matter, it was a matter of two huge families. However, the national goddess publicly invited Fang Yan. Wasn't she afraid that the people around her would misunderstand? The people around them had indeed misunderstood. They looked at Fang Yan as if they were looking at a dinosaur in the modern world. In the past, they heard that Xiaozhi was with a mysterious man, and that the man was Xiaozhi's rumored boyfriend. Could it be the Fang Yan standing in front of them now? Chapter 370. No matter what the occasion was, the goddess's invitation was an extremely honorable thing. If they did some other extracurricular activities after a drink, it would make people feel that no matter how much humiliation and censure they suffered today, it would be enough to make up for it. Summer's behavior was undoubtedly a stab in the hearts of many men at the scene. It should be known that although some people were rich or noble, they were also Summer's fans. Adversity shows true love. Fang Yan had always had a good impression of Summer. He felt that she was a woman with ideals and loyalty, a very good choice for a friend. That was all. However, Summer's protection today really made him feel grateful from the bottom of his heart. He was not a pure person, a person with interests. He did many things for other purposes, but Summer only had one purpose: to protect him. She cared about him as a friend. Now, the Swallow Dock team led by Fang Yan and Jiang Junling were divided into two phalanxes on the grounds of personal safety. It was a critical and dangerous period when the contradiction broke out. Summer did not stand on the side of Jiang Junling, who was of the same kind, but had always been on the side of Fang Yan. Although she did not stand up in public to refute or fight back against Jiang Junling's dissatisfaction, her inviting Fang Yan out for a drink was a kind of attitude. She wanted to drag Fang Yan out of this quagmire. Fang Yan turned to look at Summer and said with a smile, "Thank you for your kindness, Summer. Thank you very much. I know what you want to do, and I understand your intentions, but I can't promise you. As you can see, things have come to this point. I can't retreat. At least, I can't retreat now." Fang Yan patted Summer's arm. His eyes were gentle, and his expression was sincere. "Really, I'm really honored to have a friend like you." Summer's lips moved slightly, and all that came out was a sigh. She knew Fang Yan. If he didn't want to retreat, there must be a reason. Fang Yan turned to Bruce Lee and asked, "Brother Xiaolong, do you have an invitation in your hand?" "Yes." Bruce Lee took out a classical card from his pocket and said, "This is the invitation letter. It can also be used as an elevator access card." "No name?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "The card is not signed," Bruce Lee said. "The outer packaging is signed. I threw the outer shell away." Fang Yan raised the light yellow card and said, "Can I borrow it?" "Borrow?" Bruce Lee was stunned for a moment, then he grinned and said, "If it's useful, I don't mind." "Thank you," Fang Yan said. Therefore, Fang Yan walked to the general token with the card in his hand and said, "Look, I have an invitation. Your card is the same, right? Or something more advanced?" "That invitation letter isn't yours," shouted General Yi Rong angrily. She was about to explode from anger because of Fang Yan. Originally, she thought that the matter could be solved with a few words, but this guy kept pestering her endlessly until now. What did he want? "It's in my hands. Why isn't it mine?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "I will ask the club to verify your identity." "It doesn't matter," said Fang Yan. The card is in my hands, so the invitation letter is mine. If it doesn't work, I can change my name to Bruce Lee. My idol is also called Bruce Lee. You shameless. General Yi Rong wanted to rush up and chop Fang Yan into pieces. Yi Fengxing laughed out loud and said, "That's right. Fang Yan has an invitation now. He's also a person of status. Some people can't drive him out. Brothers, are we going to be driven out?" Fang Yan should have done this a long time ago. Your serious look just now made us all very uncomfortable. Hello, Bruce Lee. Goodbye, Bruce Lee. Zhu Ziden teased. I'm happy to see people we don't like unhappy. Who said that? Fang Yan borrowed Bruce Lee's invitation letter. It was the only invitation they had. In other words, only one of the 8 people could stay. Of course, Jiang Junling and the others only wanted to force Fang Yan out. Jiang Junling stared at Fang Yan with burning eyes. He did not answer his question for a long time. He suddenly had a feeling that danger was approaching. Perhaps he had made a serious mistake. He stared at Fang Yan with a gloomy face and said, "I've investigated you. I know a little about you. I just don't understand. What other trump cards do you have? What's the point of your persistence?" "I don't have any trump cards," Fang Yan said with a smile. "I just said, I'm just a nobody. I just try my best to spit on others when they step on me. I'm dirty and so are you. It's embarrassing to say it, but there's really no better way." "If that's the case." Jiang Junling's eyes narrowed slightly. "Why do you keep looking at the time? You've looked at the time 5 times since I came in. 2 of them were the wristwatch of Miss Xia, who was closest to you. The other 2 were the wall clock of Starlight World. When you took the card from Bruce Lee's hand, you looked at the time on his wristwatch again. What are you waiting for?" The luxurious European-style decoration and the gorgeous and complicated crystal lamps illuminated the room as if it were daytime. On the wall of the room there was a huge screen. On the screen was the scene of Fang Yan and Jiang Junling confronting each other in Starlight World of Maple Leaf Association. The image of the big screen was excellent. The facial expressions and eye contact between Jiang Junling and Fang Yan could be clearly seen. Even the black hemorrhoid on Jiang Junling's face and the fluff on Fang Yan's face could be seen clearly. A girl in a red dress stood in front of the big screen like a proud princess, watching her knights doing their best to kill each other for honor. Noble, calm and sure. A handsome man in a black suit stood beside her. Seeing a drop of sweat slowly flowing down Fang Yan's forehead, he said with a smile, "It seems that he's in a bad situation. Miss, do you want me to go out and help him?" "No need," the girl said softly. "What are we waiting for?" "Waiting for the arrival of what he's been waiting for. What if he can't hold on?" "He'll definitely hold on," the girl said in a very firm tone. "Because I won't let him lose." Swallow Dock. In the thatched hut, an old man in a leather jacket was lying on a chair drinking yellow wine. Bai Xiuxiu was adding firewood that had been chopped long ago to the fire. There was no heater in the old man's house. The weather was too cold, so a fire was needed to keep warm. Under the light of the fire, the old man's face showed a soft golden color. His face was full of wrinkles and ditches. Who knew how much wind and rain and the past had been contained in it? Gulp, gulp, the old man drank a mouthful of yellow wine and handed over the wine pot in his hand. "Bai Xiuxiu, have a sip to warm up your body." "No need," Bai Xiuxiu refused. "I'm not cold." "Yes, you're not cold," the old man said with emotion. "Young people are full of vigor." Bai Xiuxiu glanced outside the door and looked at the dense crowd standing in the snow outside. "Sir, you have to say something. The Zhu family's old master has come out, the Li family's old master has come out, the Fang family's old master has been pushed over in a wheelchair. Yi family's big uncle Yi has also come. Everyone is standing at the door, waiting for you to say something." But the sir didn't look outside, pretending that these people didn't exist. He scolded with a smile, I'm standing here, not taking a step back. These monkeys, do they think this is an act? Bai Xiuxiu chuckled and said, Isn't it an act? Yes. Isn't it an act? The Sir said with a sigh. You young people are unreconciled, unconvinced. You're all suppressing a burst of energy. You like crowds, you like to stand out. You don't want to fall behind. But in the end, it's just a temporary flourish. Isn't it better for us, the people of Swallow Dock, to live our days in peace and tranquility? These monkeys came to Four Corner City, shouting and jumping, and even put on a show of facing death with equanimity. Didn't they want this old man to take a stand? Didn't this family's old master and that family's grandma standing outside also come to force this old man to abdicate? Who would have thought that the real battlefield of a few little monkeys in Yanjing City would be here, in Swallow Dock? Naturally, someone thought of it, Bai Xiu said. Yes. That kid from the Fong family must have thought of it. This show was directed by him. How could he not have thought of it? The Sir shook his head with a wry smile. He came to me a few days ago, saying that we, Swallow Dock, have kept a low profile for hundreds of years. Shouldn't it be high profile for once? I sang a verse from the virtuous works of Xinguang for him. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, he would bring a bunch of kids to Yanjing City to play this show for me? Fine. They've already set up the stage in Yanjing City. If I don't go up there and sing a song, it looks like I won't be able to fulfill their expectations. The Sir stood up with the wine pot in his hands, walked to the corner, and took out a small golden key. He used the key to open a wooden box. Inside the box was a well-preserved wristband telephone. He dialed a few numbers, and the phone was quickly picked up. A man's dignified and respectful voice came from the phone, saying, Sir, what can I do for you? I didn't want to make this call, but I drank a few mouthfuls of yellow soup today. Listen to me for a while, and don't feel impatient. You run the country, and we protect it. I don't think that anyone is nobler than the other, just that we work harder than the other. The ancestor of the Zhu family was a Hanlin, but when the mutated tribe invaded, the whole family fought against the enemy, and only one of the 9 sons survived. The Li family's old grandmother, father, and brothers all died in that unknown local conflict. The Yi family's old grandmother's husband was the captain of the guards of the old chief, and he used his own chest to block 2 bullets for the old chief. The Fong family's Fong Hui's father was an apotheosis realm Tai Chi master, and he died in the battle for the Dragon Chi between the East and the West. There's also Fong Hui himself, who injured his legs when he accepted the challenge of the Western Red Devil, and became a cripple. You're familiar with the 24 histories, and you're even more familiar with modern history. There are some things I don't need to tell you, but there are some things I don't know that you know. The heroic souls of Swallow Dock will never die, and their loyalty will last forever. However, who would be willing to die for the country in the future after making the ancestors shed blood and tears? Chapter 371. In the long river of Huaxia's glorious and torturous history, countless heroes, sages, and warriors emerged. Yu Fei was enraged and loyal to the country. When Tianxiang fought against the Yuan and died in Yidu, Zheng Qinggong crossed the sea and seized the island, protecting the integrity of the country. Deng Shichang died in battle in the Yellow Sea. During the 5 Barbarians' rebellion, the Han people were almost wiped out, but Ran Min fought back and was covered in Hu blood, earning himself the title of Butcher. For the great Huaxia, for the Han bloodline, they shed their blood, served the country, and were loyal to the people. Some people became the bright moon in the sky, the dazzling stars, the role models of humanity, leading the future generations to follow their example, to forge ahead, to continue forward. Even more people turned into spring flowers, into weeds, into dew, and returned to the earth. Many people of Swallow Dock, many people, turned into dust that no one knew about and no one would pay attention to. At the entrance of the dock, there was a stone tablet that had stood for hundreds of years, and even after many renovations, it was still broken. The various contributions that the men of Swallow Dock had made to the country were recorded on it. Some of them could be written down, but most of them could not be engraved on a tablet to show the world. Although they were not famous, and their stories were not popular, because of the efforts of generations of sages, Swallow Dock was still respected and relied on by the rulers of the past dynasties. Since the Five Barbarians period, the tradition of the general dismounting from his horse and the prime minister alighting from his sedan chair had appeared. Now, the country of Hua Xia was peaceful, and the weather was good, but the enemy was still there, and the people of Swallow Dock were still fighting the enemy in various dangerous areas, protecting the dragon's vein. Fang Yen had accepted the challenge of the Japanese sword god Chiba Hashirama. And in those unknown dark corners, how many heroes were fighting one life and death battle after another? In the North Sea, in the Sky Mountain, in the land of the Goshawk, how many men of Swallow Dock were killing enemies and hunting prisoners? I understand. The man's dignified voice sounded like a heavy hammer hitting a nail, hammering the nail into the wall, but he gently and intimately said, "Sir, take care of yourself. When I have time, I will find you for a drink." After hanging up the phone, the man let out a sigh of relief. He raised the wine bottle and drank 2 mouthfuls of yellow wine. Only then did he wipe and fasten the telephone with fine silk and carefully lock it into the wooden box. He was so serious, as if he was collecting the most precious antique in the world. Bai Xiu walked over to support him and said, "Sir, do you want to go out and have a few words with them? Everyone's waiting." "It's noisy. What's the big deal about a few children having a conflict?" The teacher shook his head and sighed. "Those dumb fellows, they're being used by those lads. They don't get it? With how crafty those brats were, it was fine as long as they didn't bully others outside. Who could bully them? I really want to go out and scold them." "Don't scold them," Bai Xiu said with a smile. "They are also anxious for their son. Otherwise, who would be willing to stand guard at the door on such a cold day?" "Humph, can't I scold him just because he loves his son?" The teacher sneered. "I don't scold them because, well, go out and say hello to them and let them all go. It's not good to freeze the old man and the old woman on such a cold day." Bai Xiu nodded and prepared to go out and let everyone go. Since the teacher had already made that phone call, it meant that all the problems were no longer problems. "Let the old man from the Fang family and Yi Daowen come in," the teacher added. Bai Xiu went out and very quickly, he pushed Fang Huwei, who was sitting in a wheelchair with a thick blanket draped over his body, in. Yi Daowen, who was dressed in green clothes and had a jade-like face, followed behind and closed the wooden door. The teacher casually sat on his recliner and squinted his eyes as he looked at Fang Huwei and said, "You old fox Fang, other people might not understand, but you don't either?" Fang Huwei chuckled and said, "My grandson was bullying people outside. As a grandfather, I thought I had nothing to do anyway, so I got someone to push me out to give my grandson a round of applause or something. You know, I'm a cripple, and I'm not very useful. I can only yell a few times." The teacher handed over the wine jug in his hand and said, "Why bother? Our Swallow Dock is peaceful and quiet. Everyone is living peacefully and living their happy lives. How great is that? Why do we have to get involved in those things? Everyone is willing to take the shortcut, but what if we accidentally step on a muddy swamp? We do want to live a peaceful and comfortable life, but people always want to bully my grandson. I'm not happy about that." Fang Huwei held the teacher's wine jug and greedily drank it, and in one gulp, the bottle was empty. He poured the last drop of wine into his mouth, then reluctantly returned the jug and said, "The children at home are very strict. I can't even drink a cup of yellow wine, let alone burn knives." The teacher then looked at Yi Daowen and said, "And why are you doing this?" "I'm just going with the flow," Yi Daowen said with a smile. "Seeing that everyone is here, I also came to take a look. I didn't expect the teacher to specifically ask me to stay. Do you still have any wine? I also want to ask for a drink. You can't even say it clearly, and you still want to drink my old yellow wine? The teacher said with dissatisfaction. Your Yi family is now the #1 family in our swallow dock. Why are you guys also messing around? The teacher asked seriously, and Yi Daowen could only answer seriously. Looking at the fire in front of him, he said, "It's not easy for Dao Xian and Dao Ling to do things outside. Those who have connections have connections, those who have connections, those who have connections, those who have connections. The people of our swallow dock are naturally different from others, and it's very difficult to rope them in." Yi Daowen picked up a bunch of firewood and threw it into the fire, and said, "I'm just adding firewood to them. I want to see if this fire can burn even brighter." The teacher narrowed his eyes and said, "Looks like I'm really old." "It's not that you're old, it's that they've grown up," Fang Huwei said with a smile. "When I received the call just now, I was also shocked. I'm not afraid to laugh at you, but this crippled me almost jumped out of my wheelchair. Later on, the more I learned about the situation, the more I understood these kids' evil intentions. Tell me, why did they dare to do such a thing? In the past, I, Fang Huwei, wasn't afraid of anything, but I didn't dare to do such a thing. Our generation is also far inferior." Yi Daowen echoed. "We discovered the problem, but we didn't think about solving it. These kids sure have the guts to think and act. When Yi Fengxing went out today, I even told him not to cause any trouble. It seems like he didn't listen to my words at all." The teacher waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Forget it. They went through the trouble of setting up the stage, and you guys were beating the drums and gongs, so I had no choice but to come out and sing a song. It should be over there soon, right? Go back and rest. I'm tired." Seeing the teacher's tired expression, Fang Huwei said with a serious expression, "Teacher, rest well. When that stinky kid of mine comes back, I'll give him a good spanking. That kid of yours is smart, knowledgeable, and has accumulated a lot of knowledge. Why didn't I let him enter Meng School as a teacher? I was worried that he would lead the good seedlings of our swallow dock astray. Even after guarding against him, we were still led astray by him." The teacher sighed and said. Yi Daowen's expression was also full of respect and said, "Teacher, take care of yourself. We won't disturb you anymore." Yi Daowen pushed Fang Huwei away. Bai Xiu took a military coat and covered the teacher's body, then added some firewood to the fire and quietly left. The teacher was drunk, so he slept soundly under the light of the fire. It was a vast expanse of whiteness outside, and the sky was full of snow and wind. Bai Xiu looked in the direction of Yanjing City, and said with a smile, "How wonderful! What are you waiting for?" Jiang Junling asked. Jiang Junling was a conceited and smart man. He was good at observation, and his mental calculation ability was extremely strong. Although he didn't seem to focus his attention on Fang Yan, he clearly saw how Fang Yan had secretly looked at his watch since he entered the school. Fang Yan cared a lot about time, and caring about time meant that he had something to look forward to. What was he looking forward to? Who was he looking forward to coming to his rescue? It had to be said that Jiang Junling's question really put pressure on Fang Yan. He didn't have much contact with Jiang Junling, and the few times they met, they didn't get along very well. At that time, everyone was thinking of ways to knock down their opponents, so where would they have the energy to carefully observe and understand his character and habits? After Fang Yan got off the plane and was intercepted by 2 groups of people, he began to prepare for this big gamble. This time, he had the help of the Qin family, but what about the next time? Next time, when his family wanted to take him away, who would be willing to stand up and help? There was bound to be a winner and a loser in a gamble. Whether he won or lost, the decision was not in his hands, nor was it in the hands of Jiang Junling, but in the hands of the old man in Swallow Dock. He couldn't answer Jiang Junling's question because he didn't know the answer. He made a big bet and waited for someone to lift the cup. Clang, clang, clang. Because of the confrontation between Fang Yen and Jiang Junling, the whole starlight world was strangely quiet. Therefore, when the phone rang, everyone would feel that it was abrupt and ear-piercing. Seeing the ringtone coming from Jiang Junling's arms, Fang Yen suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and his tense body finally relaxed a little. Jiang Junling took out the mobile phone from his pocket and glanced at the caller ID. His face immediately became as pale as paper. After answering the phone, he said, "Grandpa, come back." An old man's hoarse voice came from the phone. "You lost a long time ago. You lost completely." Jiang Junling held the mobile phone tightly, and his nails deeply pierced into his flesh. Chapter 372. When Jiang Junling saw that the phone screen showed the landline number of his grandfather's old house, he knew that something had happened that he didn't know about. He knew that his premonition was right. The feeling of uneasiness and dryness of the mouth when danger struck really did exist. He rarely experienced this kind of feeling. But what on earth had happened? Could it be that the Qin family had stood up for Fang Yen? Only one person from the Qin family would stand up for him, and that person wouldn't alarm his grandfather. It was just a child. She should stand up for him and say a few harsh words, or ask someone to send a few invitation letters to help him out of trouble. This was what a girl should do. If it was just this, how could it make his grandfather say such a serious word as a crushing defeat? Did other forces intervene? If he had other powers, why couldn't he even get an invitation letter before? Swallow Dock. In just a breath's time, Jiang Junling had already thought of all kinds of possibilities. Finally, the target of the attack was Swallow Dock. They did have the strength, but what motive did they have? Just as he knew, Swallow Dock didn't belong to Fang Yen alone, but to everyone in Swallow Dock. The results of Jiang Junling's investigation showed that there were also cracks within Swallow Dock. Many people didn't have a good impression of the Fang family. Most importantly, Swallow Dock had been silent for 100 years. Just because of the disturbance caused by a few children, they were suspected of being bullied. So that old man stood up and shouted for them? His grandfather wouldn't explain the reason to him over the phone, and he couldn't ask anything over the phone. Jiang Junling didn't disobey his grandfather's words. He said meekly, "Grandfather, I'll go back now." After hanging up the phone, his expression had already returned to normal. Seeing that everyone's eyes were focused on him and the phone in his hand, Jiang Junling smiled and said, "Everyone, I have to go first." Wow! All the guests looked at the general's order in astonishment. They didn't understand why Jiang Junling wanted to leave at this time. After all, when both sides were at daggers drawn and ready to fight, leaving would mean that he was backing down, which meant that he had failed. Or did he already realize that he had failed? How could Jiang Junling fail? How could Jiang Junling fail in Yanjing City? Shock, fear, doubt, and hostility. Jiang Junling's failure was equivalent to the loss of their bets. They did not blame Jiang Junling, who failed with their expectations. Instead, they blamed his opponent for winning. Fang Yen, this country bumpkin, what kind of power was he hiding? Yirong quickly walked over and said discontentedly, "Brother, what happened? Why does Grandpa want you to go back at this time? Didn't you explain it to him?" Jiang Yirong still did not understand the seriousness of the matter, thinking that his grandfather had some urgent matter that his brother had to go back to deal with. Based on Grandpa's preference for Big Brother, he wouldn't have any objections. General Xing also walked over and said with a smile, "Is Grandpa's chess addiction acting up again? If that's the case, I advise you to go back quickly. Anyway, I won't go back to be tortured." General Xing's way of handling things was more experienced. He used a perfect reason to explain why his grandfather wanted Jiang Junling to go back at this time. This was to help Jiang Junling get off the stage. Jiang Junling ignored them and walked up to Fang Yen and said, "Wonderful. This game is really wonderful. Until now, until I just received a call from Grandpa that I understood. From the moment you found out about this banquet, you have been planning it. Even if I ignored you, you would find a reason to cause a conflict between us. Your goal is to make this matter bigger, to push today's charity banquet to the teeth of the storm, to create a situation where you and I will not rest until one of us is dead. It is only at this time that they stand up, isn't it?" Fang Yen did not expect Jiang Junling to be so frank. He smiled, said hello to everyone, turned around and left, or used the excuse of General Xing to perfunctorily brush off the unaware audience. These were all good ways to get a reason and preserve his face. Why did he expose his own disgrace in public and admit his failure? Was it because he was too proud? Or was he still disdainful of himself? Fang Yen looked at Jiang Junling thoughtfully and said with a smile, "Let me tell you a story. I'm all ears. When I was 8 years old, every time I went to play with Yi Fengxing, their dog would bark at me and bare its teeth. There were a few times when it almost pounced on me. I was very scared." Everyone was listening to Fang Yan's story, but why did it sound so simple and shabby? Later, it was stolen and made into a dog meat hot pot. "I was sad for a few days," Fang Yan said. "I could no longer hear its familiar barks." "What a good story," Jiang Junling said with a smile. "Goodbye, Jiang Junling." Jiang Junling turned to look at Fang Yan. "Don't be sad, you didn't fail," Fang Yan comforted him. "Thank you." Jiang Junling's eyes were slightly cold. He did not need others to comfort him. "You were just trampled to death by me. It's not a big deal." The general gave the order to leave. He sent Yi Rong away. And some families who could not bear the humiliation also left. For some reason, the general line did not leave with them. As a result, Fang Yen became the only focus of the whole scene. Fang Yen took the wine glass from the waiter who was standing still and took the initiative to raise his glass to everyone. He said, "I know you don't like me, and I don't like you either. But you can rest assured that I'm not a man who holds grudges. I can't remember that you stood on Jiang Junling's side and drove me away." Everyone was very worried. After their first contact with Fang Yen, they felt that this guy was really a very vengeful person. Fang Yen drank the champagne in the glass and returned the invitation in his hand to Bruce Lee. "Brother Long, I'll give this back to you first. The favor inside is too heavy for me to repay in a short time. I'll pay it back slowly." Bruce Lee did not reach out to take the card. "Since it's given to you, you can take it." Fang Yen smiled and waved his hand. He pointed to Yi Fengxing and Zhu Ziden and said, "Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Rules are rules, and rules must be obeyed. I'm not a person who likes to destroy things. My friends were forced to leave because they didn't have an invitation. How can I stay here alone to drink wine and look at beautiful women? I can't do this kind of thing. You keep the card and take part in the next auction. Buy a few more and take it back as our apology to our friends in the disaster area." Hearing Fang Yan's words, Bruce Lee did not refuse. He took the card and said, "I'll buy one for each of you." "Thank you, Brother Long." Fang Yen and Bruce Lee shook hands. "We are all from Swallow Dock," Bruce Lee said. "What you want to do is what I want to do." Fang Yen and Yi Fengxing winked at each other. The beautiful men of Swallow Dock were ready to leave. "Mr. Fang Yen, please wait a moment." A clear and sweet woman's voice was heard. Then there was the sound of high-heeled shoes tapping on the floor, indicating that the person was walking in a hurry. The crowd dispersed, and a tall woman in a black dress walked over. Behind her, there was a handsome waiter in a black suit. The waiter held a tray in his hand. The tray was covered with white silk, and no one knew what valuable items were inside. Seeing the woman come out, many people took the initiative to greet her. "Miss Luo, you're finally out." "Miss Luo, long time no see." You're still as elegant as ever. Mingyan, hurry up and solve the problem. These young people. Some people did not understand the woman's identity and asked the people next to them in a low voice. Fang Yen did not know the woman's background. Fortunately, Bruce Lee, who was standing next to him, explained in time, Luo Mingyan, one of the 3 founders of the Maple Leaf Society. The Luo family has some influence in Yanjing City. I hope she came with good intentions. If they were not good to me, they would have come out long ago, Fang Yen said with a smile. Bruce Lee agreed. If the founder of the Maple Leaf Society had come out earlier, he would have expelled Fang Yen as the organizer, or even gone too far and directly called the police. There were still many things that Bruce Lee could not figure out. For example, why did Fang Yen and Jiang Junling have such a deep conflict? Why did Fang Yen sneak into the charity banquet, and why did he confront Jiang Junling again? Why did Jiang Junling retreat at the critical moment? What did he mean by those words? He saw everything that happened inside the club. What happened outside that he could not see? However, Bruce Lee also understood that the Maple Leaf Society helped Fang Yen to defeat Jiang Junling. As the organizers of the banquet, they did nothing when such a thing happened. In fact, they were already partial. So the question was, did the people of the Maple Leaf Society also stand on Fang Yan's side? Luo Mingyan exchanged greetings with her familiar friends and elders, but she did not slow down her pace at all and walked to Fang Yen. She took the initiative to stretch out her white hand to Fang Yen and said, "Hello, Mr. Fang Yen. I'm Luo Mingyan of the Maple Leaf Society. I'm sorry I'm late. It's our staff's negligence that the invitations for you and your friends were not sent in time. We are deeply sorry that you were misunderstood by others." Luo Mingyan stepped aside and the waiter came forward with a tray and said, "Now we'll bring up the invitations for you gentlemen. I hope you can have a good time in the club." My proud brother didn't hesitate to kidnap all the guests to make an enemy of Fang Yen. If it were a smart organizer, they would have stood up to calm their anger at this time. Otherwise, if a large number of people left, the charity banquet would be ruined. My brother probably didn't expect that such a beautiful move of his would be miscalculated. Why? Li Guoqiang asked. I can't think of any reason. Is he worth so many people's expectations? Maybe. General Xing sipped the red wine and said, "That guy has always been lucky." At 8 o'clock, the banquet started on time. The host of tonight's charity auction was the ace host of Huaxia TV station, Wang Xiaoya. Wang Xiaoya was dignified and gentle, and her hosting style was flexible and sharp. She was the top hostess in the hosting industry and was loved by TV audiences all over the country. Wang Xiaoya, dressed in a black dress, walked to the front of the stage with a microphone in her hand. Her eyes that could speak swept the audience and said in a clear and enthusiastic voice, "It's freezing outside." When the car was on the road, the driver told me that it was -20 degrees now. I told him that I didn't feel cold at all. Yes, I didn't feel cold at all. Because I'm about to be with a group of very enthusiastic people to do a very loving thing together. As the old saying goes, when one side is in trouble, help comes from all sides. Our compatriots in Guangnan are suffering from a snow disaster. Their lives are threatened, their property has suffered heavy losses, and they may have no clothes to cover their bodies and no food to cover their stomachs. The country is moving, the people are moving, and all the loving friends are moving. Dear gentlemen, beautiful ladies, many of you are my familiar friends, and some of you are meeting for the first time. No matter who you are, I'm very grateful that you can appear here, and the victims of Guangnan are also grateful that you are here. Let's welcome Miss Summer, our beloved diva. She will bring you her classic song, Darling. Wang Xiaoya waved to Summer, who had just stood up and said, "Summer, I'm your die-hard fan." "Thank you. Summer took the microphone and walked to the front of the stage, saying, "Thank you, Xiaoya, thank you for liking my song, and thank all the friends who like to listen to my singing. Of course, I know that you didn't come here to listen to my singing. We have more important things to do. I give this song, Darling, to you, and also to my friends in Guangnan. Through thick and thin, we will never leave each other." The music sounded and the venue quieted down. When the river is still flowing, when there is still sunshine in the sky, darling, that's our hope. Xia Qin was recognized as an idol singer in the circle. The moment she opened her mouth, people would be amazed. She was instantly immersed in her singing. At the end of the song, the applause was like thunder. "Thank you." Summer bowed to thank her and walked off the stage. She knew that today was not a concert, so she didn't need to draw all the attention to herself. The people who loved the snow disaster in Guangnan were the only protagonists tonight. "Thank you, Queen of Heaven, for your beautiful singing." Wang Xiaoya once again held the microphone on the stage. Today, the station did a program about the snow disaster in Guangnan. When I saw the villagers living a difficult life in the snow-covered village, I felt very uncomfortable. Just now, when I heard Miss Xia Xia's singing, I connected the artistic conception in the lyrics with the living cruel scene. It made people tear up. It's so touching. My Darling was a good song that was filled with sincerity and sincerity. We invite Mr. Zhang Xueren, the king of singers, to bring us his masterpiece Li Xianglan. Zhang Xueren is one of the 4 heavenly kings of Huaxia's entertainment circle. He is also an evergreen tree in the entertainment circle and has the praise of the god of songs. He was not good at talking. After going on the stage, he did not make a speech. He just quietly waited for the music to start, waiting for the beat he wanted to come. His voice was hoarse and magnetic, and he specially chose a lyrical song, which made people's mood suffer wave after wave of emotional attacks. It was conceivable that after a few songs, the guests at the scene who were completely immersed in their emotions would not be stingy to sign a considerable donation number on the checkbook. After Zhang Xueren's Li Xianglan finished singing, 2 more stars went on the stage to perform. These 2 stars belonged to the new popular young man and the otaku goddess. Their musical attainments were far from those of the previous Summer and Zhang Xueren, but they were delicate and fashionable. Standing on the stage, singing and dancing were still very good at driving the atmosphere. After the performance of a star named Ai Jing, Wang Xiaoya went to the front of the stage again, looked at the many guests with a mysterious smile, and said, "She is a legend, but she is not only a legend." The venue was in an uproar. Everyone knew that music addict Lu Shuiyun was going to appear. Not many people might know the name Lu Shuiyun. But when it came to music addict, one of the 7 addicts of Huaxia, she was really well known. She was a strange person, but also a strange person. Of course, she was also an idiot. She was a music addict and a music addict. It was said that she was familiar with hundreds of musical instruments and proficient in more than a dozen singing styles. She did not participate in entertainment programs on TV, did not hold concerts, did not release albums, rarely participated in activities, and almost never showed up. However, she was admired and looked forward to by countless people. She is not only a legend, she is a living person, a living miracle. It is our honor to invite her here today. Everyone knows that Maestro Shui pursues the limits of music, and rarely shows up. This time, the leader of the Maple Leaf Society personally invited her, and said that this is to raise money for the victims of the disaster, so Maestro Shui agreed to come and give us good news. "I'm really looking forward to it," Wang Xiaoya said with an intoxicated look. Many people laughed, because this was the common thought of many guests below the stage. "Like you, I don't know what instrument Maestro Shui can perform. So, like you, I will calm down and listen." Wang Xiaoya left the stage, and all the lights on the stage suddenly exploded. All the lights in the whole starry sky were turned off, Only a small dim yellow light and the flying snow in the sky illuminated everyone. The dazzling banquet scene that had just been lit up with wine and a moment ago had suddenly turned into a deserted village street, and the guests holding wine glasses had turned into people returning home at night in the snow. Silence. Dead silence. No one spoke, no one drank, and even felt that breathing was disrespectful to Music Addict. Waiting, a long wait. Just when Fang Yen thought that Music Addict was treating everyone as idiots, a low voice finally came out. Jade person blowing the flute. The voice was very low, like an old man's soft sigh, or like the cry of the wind in the wild. Fang Yan's dantian suddenly became hot, as if it was being roasted. Unexpectedly, his Taiji heart was aroused by this simple tone. Like a mad dog that was throwing a tantrum, he spun and ran wildly without any shame or impatience. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.